What is up, everyone? Welcome to Mechs on Deck. It's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday. Sorry.
Oh man,
I'm having
these
too
guys
much
aren't
fun,
even gonna-
man. New toys.
Oh, man. Chewy got a new toy, and he's enjoying playing with it.
I love toys.
That's what
I mean,
she
that's
said.
why we're into keyboards, right? So we like
You
playing
know,
with new toys.
I guess
is.
so. I guess
Prepare
so.
for some tomfoolery tonight because we have a return guest, great friend, personal friend. We spent more time with this gentleman at NorCal Meetup than anybody else, and can't wait to see him at KeyCon. Mr. Iammeuru, joining
Snap,
us
that's me.
all the way from his hotel.
In beautiful Utah.
The beautifulest of you. Utah is a beautiful state.
It is.
It is insane.
I've never been, but I've seen pictures. I've heard it's really
beautiful.
nice.
Yeah, I was in Utah. Eric. That's
Utah.
Yeah, I was in
Those are
Utah
states.
around this time last year, and it's definitely beautiful. There's a lot of stuff to do, a lot of cool places to go out and see. We got
Like this time?
yeah.
This time. So spring is it's like 20 degrees outside in the morning,
Sounds
which
good.
for me is great. And there's snow. So I came here for work, so there's a hotel like right across the way from me. Like there's a walkway between it, and there's literally snow on the path between here and there, which is fantastic. I'm liking it. I like snow.
Dude,
All you guys who live in northern states, please know that my Southern California bullshit absolutely hates that you have snow and I don't. Wah, wah.
they're probably like, I hate that your weather is like perfect year round. So
Not where I live. It's like 118 degrees sometimes.
that's true.
Jesus Christ.
Texas,
I know it is where you guys are too.
118 might be a little stretch. Maybe like 112. 112 is kind of where
It
we
feels
cap
like-
out.
We have dry heat though.
That's
But
true.
for
The,
months,
the only
right?
benefit
Yeah.
is that we are so far away from any body of water that
Yeah.
it's just dry, dead heat.
Because Dallas, right? But
Yeah.
plenty of your state is not
Doxed.
that way. Well,
I think
Pretty
it's-
sure
I
it's
think-
literally in our
Literally never
biography.
they've literally ever watched Mechs on Deck before.
Yeah.
So
but-
where I'm at is dry, but it's so hot. The high here, I was watching the news earlier. The high here for the year so far is 60 degrees Fahrenheit.
There it is.
I was like, yes, I want that. I need that in my life. Not
Oh,
saying
man.
I want to move to Utah, but you know.
I have a student of mine watching the stream right now.
Oh,
Really?
So now I can't cuss.
hello.
Hello, student.
Hello,
I'm sorry.
student. Hello, student. Of which, even if I did know which one you were, I would not legally be allowed to say your name. Anyway, so first off, real quick, before we even get to sponsors, got a bag of
Yeah.
creams. I'm gonna whiff the shit. Whiff this stuff. Oh my god.
Oh, smell
So
those
bad.
creams. So good. So much chemicals.
If you don't know, if you've never had the luxury of getting a fresh pack of creams,
Puffing creams.
They,
what they're called.
they come with a fantastic smell.
Aren't you doing your homework? Choocher commands you to do. Dude, you think I give out homework? Heck no. Anyway, so our sponsors. Now that I'm nice and buzzed off of that smell, we've got some awesome ones. I'm going to start off with Cannon Keys, which we did announce about a week ago, but they made a lovely announcement that they are sponsoring Mr. Keebs, Apiary, Mentorly, and us, Mechs on Deck. So welcome aboard the fun train, the Subies Club. I don't know if UPass is a Subi, but I'm sure he is. If he's not, then we'll just have to talk after stream. Anyway, he makes some awesome stuff. He makes the ANSI, which is one of the best 60% PCBs. I can't recommend it enough, as well as GMK finer things happening right now.
Via compatible.
Via
Don't forget.
compatible. That's all it is. That's all you need.
Onsi.
It's a 60% PCB that's not complete crap. That is VIA compatible. I can say crap. They've heard me say worse. There was a fire alarm once, and I screamed the F word, and I was like, "Oh!" They've probably heard worse. Anyway,
you do have a bleep button now, Chewy.
oh yeah, dude. What the? Anyway, so anyway, next up, got switchmod.net/mechs on deck. Get you 4% off your lube and spring needs. Dixie Mech. So mechsondeck.dixiemech.com. Go pick up GMK Modern Dolch, as well as get those brackets in. Couple more days. Project keyboards for GMK Perestroika. Be sure to check that out. Use that link. Helps us out. All these links really do help out the channel. I can't, we've been able to upgrade a lot of different things. The stream last night looked amazing. If you didn't check it out, the VOD is on YouTube. And it just the upgrades across the board. Just I'm jealous. They look amazing.
I mean, you haven't
your stream.
You've got some
I
nice
just haven't
upgrades.
I am very happy, but I just haven't gotten to do the full build stream yet. So I'm just like, anyway, soon. Next up, Tight Beast. Go check those guys out. They are lots of cool stuff coming very soon from them. And then Zap Cables make some of the best cables in the business. I don't think I missed anybody. There are your sponsors. Be sure to check those guys out. Anyway, last up, what do we got going on the end of this week, Osiris?
Yeah, so Friday, we will have a kind of a bonus stream. It's starting our coverage of Mech Madness 2020. We are the official content sponsor, I guess. We're doing a show.
We're doing the live show.
We're doing the live show. It's going to be a live show completely around Mech Madness. Tons of cool stuff happening. I was in a call. Both Chewy and myself were in calls with Dixie last night, going through different things, talking about different stuff, planning out a run of show. So it's getting serious. It's going to be cool.
Serious.
It's gonna be like what you see during March Madness, the coverage that they have. Similar idea. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Gonna be hilarious. So come check that out Friday at 8 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Pacific. Is that right?
That's
yeah,
right.
That's right.
That's right.
Not specific either. It's just Pacific.
Pacific.
When you guys normally go live.
When we
6
normally go
p.m.
live. This time.
What? Die? What? I heard you say when we normally go die.
Oh, wow.
Wow. That got real
You
dark.
heard me say that?
No, I heard Osiris say that.
Oh, okay.
No,
Clip
that's-
that. He straight up said die.
I don't think I said die. But either
I'm
way.
like sad when I miss you guys. Sad.
Aw,
Which is
Aw,
like
thank
every
you.
Wednesday.
appreciate that.
I can't comment live. I have to after the fact.
Yeah, we get with the hotel Wi-Fi being as powerful as
Sorry.
I don't know, a spider trying to lift a twig. The ability to look at chat for Mr. Iammeuru has been ripped away.
Yeah, I can't. I literally am asking people to actually just send me via text message links.
Just text me.
Yeah,
Just post your phone number right on the chat, and
I'm not
people
going to
yeah, just people hit you up, man. Don't worry.
specific people.
I'll just call you right now. So anyway, like I said, if you guys don't know, let's get a quick exclamation point guest and go check out that Twitch channel. Give it a follow. He does probably my favorite build streamer, mainly because you get my humor and you also like Zycos. So,
That's true. I think it's really that latter one.
Well, and I get to look at a board that I designed on your stream all the time.
That's true. That's true.
It's called pandering to
true.
your audience, and you do it
No,
beautifully.
I think you hate the most what I've told you will eventually supplant that board.
Yeah, well,
But I think one of your sponsors will be very happy to hear that that's the case.
oh, I'm sure.
True. I think one of my favorite things is the like chat's going off about it right now. The microscope, that new
The
edition,
microscope.
dude.
Ooh,
It's
do
awesome.
they love the microscope? Do they
Dude,
love it?
I love
Dude,
it. Chat's going off. We've got
Nice.
I1I's talking about it. 10 Strong's talking about it. They're like, oh my lord, the microscope. It's fantastic.
I love those guys, by the way. I actually, for a really long time, had a note on the side of my monitor to like recognize 10 Strong for calling me out in some other stream where I saw him. Thank you, buddy.
there
Appreciate
it
that.
is. Dude.
No, but for real, so the microscope, man, like, so that's what my content I've always wanted is to like push the envelope and show people other cool stuff and not just like as a flex, but for people to actually see like, oh, this is how this thing is done, or this is how it's done right. Not that I'm always right about stuff like that, but I feel like I've gone to enough meetups and had enough external validation of like, oh, my stab lube job or whatever for me to and felt other people's stuff to be like, yeah, this is the way it should be. And well, I mean, I want people to see that in my content. Not just my stream, but eventually, hopefully, some more produced content, which I know we
Mhm.
talked about a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah, I love it because I've always talked to us. We one thing we're going to talk about today. For those just I guess the overall topic that not overall, but one topic we definitely want to dive into today: streaming building, because that's like its own hobby in itself. By the way, Delphin, thank you for the gifted subs, my dude. Much appreciated.
Appreciate it. Gifting 2 to the community.
Heck yeah,
Ooh,
dude. TFF
double slap in
Cypher,
the base.
Cannonball, hell yeah, dude.
Nice.
But that's kind of its own monster is streaming. And so one thing I've always talked with Osiris about is I like zooming my camera in. I like getting real close. And he's just talked about how that's not his way of thing. He'd rather hold it up or whatever, just do something different. And I'm like, that's just different. That's just people are different. I'm like, you have a microscope that that you can show off. I'm like, that's next level, and I love it. That's what I want. And also, quick answer: Geo is the Electro Voice RE20. I have not updated the specs down below.
Yeah, we need to both do that.
reminds me. Is that not Geo?
This is Geo M. This is the other Geo.
Baby Geo.
The other Geo.
Baby Geo.
Oh, well, I was going to say, anybody that already has my number, if you need to send me something while we're doing this, you feel free, text message, and I'll totally call it out on the stream. Just saying, there aren't that many of you, so it's not like there's going to be a lot of call outs. Yeah, so the microscope thing really came from, I'm really tired of one, not having a great macro lens that I could switch to on stream because, well, I'm only going to have so many fucking camera inputs realistically, right? Like, by the way, that number is 4 right now. I have 2 other capture devices. I'm just not trying to use them. So it was like, what do I do, right? Like, I don't want to have a macro dedicated because that's a little ridiculous. So I want to have my overhead, and I don't want to have zooms because honestly, zooms have slow glass comparatively. The fastest zoom lens glass is not only 1 expensive, but 2 slower than primes. And if you're streaming, so anybody who doesn't know, I mean, streaming, yes, it's its own part of the hobby. And I don't want to nerd out too hard on camera gear because it's a keyboard stream. But generally speaking, the best possible image quality is not going to come from compromises. It just isn't, right? Osiris knows for sure because I know the lens that you use is fast for your face shots.
Yeah, it's a 1.4.
Yeah, and so normally on my stream, that's what I'm using for my overhead is an f1.4 lens. So super fast, which effectively I'm compromising on being able to zoom in and out. I used to not do that, but now I do for quality. And I was like, how do I get close up? Well, I could have my overhead camera, which you guys see in my stream, could be like a macro. And I was like, F all that. I'm just gonna go with a microscope. What I really wanted to get was like a compound microscope, but mounting it to your desk is not really reasonable. So I ended up getting something that was really good in terms of image quality for you guys, but maybe doesn't give me the stereo like view that I would want, which is fine because I can just watch it on screen and it works.
Mhm.
The other thing is while I've wanted to make a lot more produced content and I've come up with like scripts and content ideas and even like exactly what I want to go over, I haven't made a lot. Um, I really want to like get into some more SMD stuff because a lot of people in the hobby don't do SMD stuff because everything we do, switches, diodes, whatever, is mostly through hole. I think that's a thing that's peripherally really valuable to people.
Mhm.
There are boards that allow for SMD diodes to be soldered on and SMD resistors for LEDs. Just most people aren't building that stuff. But that's interesting to me. I want to do that
Mhm.
because I think it's useful. So
There's
And
there's an
there's-
audience. There's an audience for everything.
there is there's less for that, and I realize that we're even in a niche, right? So
A niche
you
and a
gotta be
niche
careful
and a
not to
niche.
niche within a niche too hard. But I don't know. I'm into it, so I'm down.
Hey, that's what it is. Forgot we started. And I guess have your top fours changed at all?
Ooh.
Well, ask the top four because
All right. Well, that's
I'll
what
give you
we
potentially completely different.
forgot
answers
to.
now. I
So
didn't prepare this time for them.
shout out to Brez. Brez like went through and like datafied everything. So Brez, thank you. And sorry if you might want to write this down because this one's super later in the episode, so now it's harder to find. Sorry. But
28
top four
minutes in.
favorite exactly. Top four favorite switches.
I mean, is there really anything other than Alps, Browns, and Zycos?
I mean,
I'm
there are
being real.
lots of switch options out there.
I
No,
mean,
no, but
considering
anyway.
the fact that the Zyko takes 3 switches, I
Three
mean,
switches,
maybe.
that's
Yeah, it's like the top 3 right there, right after Alps, Browns. No. So Alps, Browns. I'll now put Zycos as a second. I will. It's great. It's really that good. And then I really want to say Zelios, but Zycos are just better. So I'm just kind of going to omit them from the list and go with uh, Alps Blues and Alps Ambers. Ooh, double clickies on that list. What are you
Ooh.
guys even going to do?
double.
But that's
I like
just
it.
what I'm
Down.
feeling right now. It changes
Hey.
a lot. It changes a lot.
There you go. That's what you want to
It
see.
changes a lot.
Why not tangerines? No tangerines on this stream.
They're not even my favorite linear.
Kidding.
Gat Inks.
There you go.
Chewy
Gat
and
Inks,
I,
maybe with U stems.
yeah, Chewy and I have a strong distaste for tangerines.
The first, I have no opinion about the new ones because I have not tried them.
That's true. Neither have I.
Me neither.
So
Me
I
neither.
can't say anything about the new ones, but the old tangerines I was not a fan of.
That's how I feel about them.
You don't have a. I can make it. I'll make a Zyko command right now.
I have a Zycos command
Yeah.
on my stream.
I thought we did. I don't know why we don't.
I thought I could have sworn.
I thought we-
No, I guess
should-
not.
Literally
what
could
I-
copy mine.
We do have a Zycos command. We do have a Zycos command. Oh, wow. Japanese
I don't
Horror
see it.
Rider with 2,000 bits. Appreciate it, my dude.
What?
Thank you so much.
Zycos.
Japanese Horror Rider, I know you almost never type in chat, but are you going to KeyCon? Hopefully you are. I want to give you a hug.
So I want to let you
There's
guys know I met Japanese Horror Writer
Yeah?
He
at,
exists?
at the other California meetup that you guys didn't go to.
True.
And that guy is really cool.
Rub it in.
I like that guy a lot, actually. I like having a conversation with that guy. If anybody ever has the opportunity, that guy's really cool.
Yeah. I talked to him once in a PM on Discord, but I've seen pictures and I've heard he's a really cool guy. Excited to meet him.
He is cool.
He's a legend in the community. Him,
He is a legend.
Talisman.
He's the goat.
Him and
I've met him
Talisman
in
are the
Talisman in real
legendary.
life.
The goat.
They're both the like legendary supporters of Twitch
They are.
keyboard streamers.
They are.
And Talisman alone, huge help to us whenever we started. With like homeboy knows how to ask questions. And when we started like the interview stuff, he was sending us this stuff that we were like, oh, like
like
this is how you ask questions.
This is phrased like they know what they're doing.
Talisman is for me. I mean, like both of them are helpful in supporting, right? In general, Talisman is really helpful in helping me understand what the rest of the topology of people are that are doing what we're doing, because I really want to keep up and know not only who to raid, but like who else is making content that could be supported in whatever way.
Mhm.
But like he's super there because he's so in touch with the community in general, like because he's following a lot of the other people that are there. Japanese horror writer I thought was just really interesting in person because I never met Talisman in person. He's probably a cool guy. I met Japanese horror writer in person, super friendly person
Mhm.
actually. So he doesn't chat a lot, whereas Talisman does, but like Japanese horror writer was really nice in real life. Actually just standing there having a conversation with the guy. That was
Nice.
cool.
I'm excited to meet him.
Also, big shout outs to Delphin for gifting Japanese horror writer a sub. Appreciate it.
Nice.
There it is.
Appreciate
There
it.
you
Thank
go.
you. Oh man.
So
your turn.
I mean, like, what are
It's
your
your
guys'
turn, bud.
favorites?
It's your turn, by the way.
Oh yeah, it's my turn. We're doing fast
I mean,
four.
we can
Sorry,
do
late.
our favorite switches if you want
It's not
to.
ever going to be fast if we're doing it together. It's always
Let's be real.
it's a bunch of bullshit.
We did spend like 2.5 hours in a hotel room typing on like 3 different keyboards.
Yeah, like
You and Osiris and I actually talked for like 5 hours after the last stream.
We
It
did.
was the most outrageously long conversation that was
It's like
just ever.
I can rattle off my top 4 if you want me to.
No, I want to know. I want to know.
Oh, it's Zycos, Holy Pandas, Zelio V2s, Creams.
No Alps.
No, well, I don't own an Alps board enough to. I haven't spent enough time. Just send me one. Just send me one, and I'll type on it for. I'm
You
sure
know what?
Alps
I
Ground might
already
be great.
know the keyboard that will get sent to you in Alps, if anything.
Sounds good. Send
Are
it.
you ready? Are you ready for
Yes,
it?
I'm ready.
I'll tell you what. Are you ready to build it?
Yes.
Are you though?
He's not.
I mean, I'm not.
Okay. I expect it back. You can't
That's
keep
fine.
this one.
No, I'll bring it to KeyCon.
He's gonna be upset.
It's gonna be a long
because
time.
it's the keyboard that he wants the most of mine.
Oh yeah, you're gonna send me that with an Alps build. There you go. Just to piss me off. I love it.
That'll be fun.
That's a good troll move. Gotcha. You get to build a
I'll
board.
send it. I'll send it with MX switches on it so that you can play around with it. But then I want an Alps board back out of it. Okay. So anyway. Okay. So next. Sorry.
All right. For me, it's going to be very similar to Chewy's. So I will say Zycos 1, Zelio V2s 2, then Holy Pandas, and then Creams. But that's saying this without using the new mauve or lilac switches, which I think the mauves could make could take out Creams, in my opinion, as far as like my favorite linear.
Do you guys like, in general, do you guys like alpacas?
That's the thing. Haven't really spent a lot of time with them.
So I just did a customer build where I built alpacas, and it was a TX87, right? And it was alpacas, and I switch filmed them. And I generally just outright refuse to apply switch films to customer switches because most switches don't benefit from it. Most people want to put switch films on there, like because it's some kind of bougie add-on, and most switches don't benefit a lot from it. Alpacas did, and boy were they good. Like they supplanted Telios at that top end of linears for me. Telios, Helios, if you're into silent, where I was like, and GAT inks have always been really far up there, so I'm curious to see what GAT inks would be maybe with switch films, although they're Gatoron switches, so I don't know if they benefit that much.
Yeah,
because they're already they're tight, right? They're tight enough. So I'm curious. I gotta try.
The other thing
alpacas,
I'm really interested to see with alpacas and inks, because they're still relatively new switches, right? Like inks really got big earlier last summer, right? So we're not even like a year into inks. I'm interested to see how they start, like the older inks, like how they start feeling, like when they reach their peak break-inness and smoothness. Well, I don't know if it's necessarily going to be peak, but when they start really, really getting broken in and how smooth those are. Cause like Telios that have been in a board for a long time feel insane. Like they're so smooth.
Yeah, I mean, I've never really broken in Telios. I've just been like 205 grade 0 now. So, which will decrease their break-in capability. Well, will increase the length of
Yeah,
which
it just takes
to
longer.
break them in by a lot.
Yeah.
It's like putting synthetic oil in your brand new car, right?
Mhm.
Like manufacturers say, don't do that because we want it to break in. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I just want it to be good now. I'm impatient that way, right? Like
I
if
feel
I
the
were
same way,
patient,
dude. I'm
I'd
like,
be just building Alps boards all the time.
True. What is up,
So, I mean-
Krascar? Chewy, Krascar subbed
I know,
last
I
night.
saw. I was watching. I was like, "What, Mr. Kraz?" Missed that dude.
Nice.
Which of the bottom two guys is Osiris? I'm pretty sure you know that. Mr. Petrov. Nice boards, by the way. I saw
me.
your
Dude,
I saw your,
or not slipline. The Allison looks amazing.
yeah, it looks really dope.
You just called out Petrov. That guy, another awesome guy from
I'm
the
really
other
excited to meet him as
California
well.
meetup that you didn't go to. Honestly,
Yeah.
one of the most cool people to hang out with.
I'm excited.
Ridiculously fun to hang out with.
So just to move things along, so Brez
Sorry.
doesn't want to kill himself by the end of this. Top 4 favorite boards.
Oh man, this is one of the hardest ones for me because there's so many good boards, but I'm still gonna call HBCP number 1. It's just it. I would be an asshole if I didn't, because it's been sitting on my desk for 7 months. It is predominantly the board that sits there. I have a hard time right now not saying that TX something is
The
second.
TX.
No, I mean, like, I keep coming back to TX84 being that board that's on that desk next to the one that I use all the time.
Mhm.
Right? Like, it's always there because I think it's great and it looks good and it sounds good and it feels good. And not V2, but V1. Even though it's sandwich, which is, according to the talking heads, inferior to top mount. I don't care. I love that board. It looks good. It sounds good. It feels good. It's hard for me to not love it. I don't think it's technically the best board. I think there are boards that are higher on that list if I look back at everything that I've ever built. Lin Whale is really good. Duck Unicorn X Legend, which is a giant pain in the ass to make, and the PCB sucks. Sorry, Snow. PCBs, they suck. Whatever. Great board. But of the ones that I own or the ones that I use regularly, probably that one, TX84. Rukia, if you like an Alice in general, if you like that ergo layout of things that I've actually built, I love Alice, but Rukia I think is just more fun, looks cooler, is just a better. It's the sound with Zycos is amazing.
I'm
Like,
really excited.
insanely good.
I imagine you're bringing that to KeyCon.
It'll come. With,
Okay.
I don't know if it'll.
That's one.
I don't know if it'll make it to the event.
Yeah, but that's
right?
one
'Cause
I
we're
want
only
to
allowed
try
bring
because
so many.
I mean that's technically the second Zyco board ever made, and so I'm very interested to see.
Like literally
how it is. Your board is the second board. Well, I guess third because I built it with a tofu and then moved the switches.
That doesn't count.
But that doesn't count. That was a hot spot. That was Mr. Keeps. It was an open relationship.
Yeah.
So
he's in an open relationship with that keyboard.
Okay. So
also, what's
the
up?
The sound is insanely good. And sound counts for a lot. I want to be really clear. Like, feel is the most important to me, but sound is so close, so close, so close. It sounds amazing. So I guess I'll go with number 3 as that for right now, and number 4. Hmm, I really, really loved Chimera when I saw it at Seattle the first
Mhm.
time. Like, I met Upas kinda on the random while everybody was setting up for it, and it was just kinda us, um, hanging out, right, in the space, and I saw Chimera, and I was like, "Oh, I love this." Which is why I know you're not a 65 guy, especially Chewy.
Hmm.
Chewy is anti-65, which is why I say it will very likely supplant Baka 60 on my desk as the regular go-to when it comes out and I have it in
Mhm.
hand. Because it was just really good. But even then, of the 65s, it's really hard for me to rank Chimera against like Iron 165
Yeah.
and maybe even Bauer. I don't like Bauer as much as I like Iron 165. And I may like Iron 165 more than Chimera, although I'm not 100% sure. But I didn't get in on Iron 165 and I did get in on Chimera. So
It's
I'm
a
looking
great
forward
looking
to that
board. I
so
mean,
much that I'm there with it.
yeah. It's a great looking board, and I've said this before in stream. Where it's, I don't hate 65% boards like by looks or whatever. It's just it's a personal decision of not caring for the layout. But
Sure.
like I love the Bower. The Bower looks so freaking
It
clean.
does. That
And the Iron
curve.
165 like has so many awesome things in it. The Chimera 65 looks great. I love the look of a Koyu. It's just it's to me it's a money thing. I don't want to spend money on something I know I'm not going to really like functionality wise.
Which is totally
So
legit. I mean, opinion is
preference.
your preference is the most important part in you choosing a board, right? So if you look at a board and you're like, I love full, then I guess you get an LZ Stan or a TX 108 if you want a good custom. No, I mean, legitimately, there's only like two options, right? And there's a lot of people that are new to the hobby that are like, oh, I need full size, I need full size. And it's like, well, then there's literally like two boards that are worth your
Yeah.
while. There's like one OEM that's all metal that isn't even really that available, which is IKBC MF108. If you want all metal, and that isn't like I don't see it anymore. So that's a thing, right? Like you have so few options. But if you're like, oh well, if I can't have full, I really love TKL. I don't use numpad a lot. Great. I mean, I think you're wrong, but great.
Hmm.
Um, I do actually like TKL a lot. Um, then there's a shit ton of options for you. Like the ridiculous amount of options. You have all the options. And great, there's a ton of great boards. If you want smaller than TKL though, if you're me, 60 doesn't work for the everyday. 60 works for my stream PC.
Mhm.
Like for me, that's why Baka 60 is sitting on my stream desk like literally all the time. Because I need something small that fits up in the corner that I can move it around. But I need at least that. I can't deal with less personally. I built boards that are smaller than that. I can't personally do it on the daily. But 65 for me handles that. I need shift, right?
Mhm.
Which is great. All boards pretty much have shift. I need
I would hope
arrows.
so.
I need home. I need end, and I need delete. Those are all switches I need on my daily for literally every day. If I don't have those, it's weird.
Mhm.
With Baka 60, I make do with a function layer and WASD for arrows. Um, so that works for me for just my stream PC. If it were my everyday, I would go insane. So for me, even better of a layout than like 1800 compact, like HBCP or TX CP or
Austin.
oh no. Well, that's where I'm going.
Oh,
But
okay. Sorry.
for 1800 CP, you have what's the other one? Box CP.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so like if it's not one of those, right? That's pretty good, but for me, the next best the next realistically great option is Austin.
Right.
Austin is an amazing layout. I built my Austin with stock Zelio V2 78 grams. So at this point, I'm just gonna like let those break in, and then I'm gonna rebuild it,
Nice.
like lube it or change it or something. But I love the layout. Right, the layout's fantastic. But I
need to
like
send
bigger
you some. I
layouts.
need to send you. I'll send you some foam for the Austin because I put foam
Oh,
in
do
it,
you?
and it's.
You have some that's
I
like
just
cut.
well, I just cut it. I bought like a sheet of foam and
Oh,
put it in
okay.
there and just cut it myself.
I'm down.
And I mean, it does what foam does. It just kind of
Yeah, it
takes some
mutes it out
echo
a
because
little.
that space bar is a bit echoey. So if you don't like, I'm not trying to hate on the Austin. That's just a thing. Like,
It is.
congratulations, you bought a metal board with space in it. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Have
gonna
some
be
echo. Here you go.
Yeah.
Ping, yeah.
like
I
you're
know what
just
you mean.
that's just gonna be a thing. But I mean, Osiris has had it now for a couple days. I know you're not really using it as a daily driver.
It's big.
I used it for a little bit, and then you came on my stream, and some people recommended DSA Scientific, and you were like, "No, fuck that." So I built it with GMK 9s,
olive.
and it was
Olive.
cool. But then I rebuilt it with DSA Scientific, right? Because there was a couple people that really wanted to see it with that, and I was like, well, I like shift home. I like home, end, and delete as my mods for 65. I also want it for that board. And most sets don't have a home, end, and delete that are row appropriate
Mm-hmm.
for 65 or Austin for that matter. So I rebuilt it with DSA because it made sense, right? Like it's
Yeah.
like, well, I'm
Right.
going to get
Flat profile.
Uniform.
a flat profile, uniform profile. And it worked really well and it looks beautiful. It's crazy beautiful. Even though DSA isn't my favorite, I don't like typing on DSA as much as I do Cherry profile at all. It looks great, fantastic. I sat with it on my desk for a few days. I ended up going back to HBCP as my daily. Uh, I don't want to say back to because I do switch from time to time,
Mm-hmm.
but it's predominantly on my desk, and it comes down to one. It's a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
It's a little
I
bit
mean,
narrower.
you get like
So I get a little bit more
an inch.
space on my desk. It's like a U and a half almost in total width, including the bezels. But also, I just can't type on DSA all the time.
Yeah.
It'll drive me crazy.
Yeah,
Like I need a little bit of a
You did
profile.
it for a while, right, Osiris?
I did it for like 9 months at work. I did DSA a long time. It was like it's one of those things. It was very jarring coming home because I didn't have DSA at home, right? Like it was more jarring. Like I went from SA at work, GMK or Cherry at home, and then I went to SA or DSA at work to Cherry at home, and that change was worse than DSA or than SA to Cherry. Just the uniform profile is hard, especially on a board that's like relatively flat. Like if the board itself doesn't have as much of an angle, it makes it even more intense of a change. That DSA set has been sitting in a closet for almost a year now. So,
Okay.
If anyone wants DSA
I
Legacy, hit me up. I've got it.
Nice. I have a couple DSA sets, but
I sold mine.
So
I had a DSA for like, I was like, nope. I like the colorway. I had Honeywell. I was like, great colorway, but
Scientific is beautiful. It's nostalgic for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know who actually designed it. Was it Jason at TKC?
I don't think
was it
so.
someone else? Did he just
I don't
run
know.
it?
I don't know enough. I think he just ran. I don't know enough about.
I don't actually know who made that
when
set.
It was made,
but it is gorgeous. But it's nostalgic for me, right? Because I mean, Texas Instruments calculators were like a thing in my life. I still own like 6 of them. Yeah, I still have a TI-83, an 86, an 89,
oh man,
and an
big
92.
boy.
The 92 is the big boy.
I have
That's
the
the, like,
84, and it's
fat.
literally got my name carved in it because I didn't want
Yeah.
someone to take it because I was a thing in high school.
Yeah, because don't steal my calculator, man.
There was a point where I had 3 TI 84s, and
It happens.
I sold them to people I work with who have kids in high school.
It's brilliant.
They can use them.
I know, right? I was like, I do sales. I don't need a calculator of this quality. I can get by with a calculator on my phone.
And
Your
if you
phone
did
has
need-
a lot of science stuff too, or not science, but the scientific calculator side of the you can do that, and I don't need to chart graphs.
If you did, you would want the one with symbolic logic, the 89.
Yeah.
Because that's the one that like engineers stop with, right? So I love it, but DSA is still not the easiest thing to type on all the time. So for me at least, so Cherry is great. So I don't know, man. GMK Olive is great and it looks fine. It's just not.
It doesn't.
I don't want to say that I don't want to say that I
mean,
don't love it.
Listen,
I do
GMK.
like it.
I love GMK Hyperfuse Origins. It's probably it's on my top 4, but it's a top 10. It's an amazing cap set, but I wound up giving it to Osiris because I couldn't really find a board that was like, this is it. And then he found a board very like sporadically that was like, I know you've said it before, you're like, I thought about changing the profile, but then or not changing the profile, but changing the caps, but it literally matches that board perfectly. And I'm like, I'm glad I don't own that set because then that wouldn't have ever happened.
That's true.
I love it when you have a board that just matches a keycap set so perfectly that it's like, no, that's just where that goes forever. It doesn't change.
It's just where it is.
No.
It's just
so I have a keyboard that matches GMK camping better.
Yeah, well, fuck you. hopefully the child
and you agree.
I do. But that white just looks really good. But that board just looks so perfect.
Damn. I have no keyboards to show off. I came on your guys' stream.
Osiris has most of my keyboards.
I can show off literally nothing cool. I have no keyboards around me that aren't like chiclet keyboards from laptops.
So I have right
interview
now. I
over.
think
Talisman says.
What did he say?
Interview over.
Oh shit,
dude, hard rip. There's only one board that I can really 100% say I am done with, and it's the Fiel that has modern Dolch on it. And I'm just like, I'm done. I can't. It's OG, the first Zycos with modern Dolch with a great round 1 gray Fiel. I'm like, I will only take this apart to clean it.
Yeah. Okay. I could show that one too, but it's in the case.
Yeah.
For me, for GMK sets, it's camping on that TX84 that I have in E-White.
Mm-hmm.
Because it just is a perfect match. And I know both of you saw it and you like it. So...
I literally was by the way, we were talking about this earlier. Osiris and because like I had already messed with Zycos long enough. Osiris and Iammeuru were they were sitting there chatting, and I literally was just sitting on the hotel bed holding this board and staring at it for like 10 minutes, just like so much. Like it's a piece of art, and they're sitting there like, now let's try flicking the switch now instead of doing this, and let's try this. Yeah. And I'm just like, okay, shut up. I'm trying to imagine myself actually owning this board.
The funny thing is, I didn't even take it to that meetup, right? No. Like I didn't.
Yeah, you just had that with you.
Yeah, it wasn't even a board that I brought with me. I brought it to NorCal with me, but not to the event.
Mm-hmm.
The board is amazing. Just camping goes perfectly on it, but because the white matches the white of the board so perfectly, but even better than that for me, like SGI Granite is one of my favorite keycap sets of all time. Mm-hmm. And I know we haven't even gone into our top 4 for key sets
we're like
yet.
An hour in, we haven't even gotten.
I just expect it to go long. If I'm on your stream,
I told my wife beforehand, I was like, "It's going to be a long one." Just let me know.
Hey, it'll be all right.
I hope to meet her one day and apologize
She's
in
coming.
person.
She's coming to KeyCon.
Yeah, and I'm ready to
We
I'm
joke
ready to-
about your name all the time, and then she joked the fact that you called me Mike
Oh.
once. Which, by the way,
I
this
did.
guy
I
was
did.
like, "Yeah, dude, Eric and Mike," and I was like, "Who the fuck is Mike?"
So there's like backstory to that. I don't know who I don't even remember now who I was talking to or about, but it was a Mike in the community, and I just like totally just fucking blurted that out. And in well, the Discord that we're in right now, the three of us was like, yeah, Eric and Mike, and I was like, oh, I totally fucked that up. I totally maybe he won't notice that I literally called him by the wrong name.
When
And he's like, who the fuck is Mike?
when it happened, I looked over and I just started laughing, and my wife's like, "What are you laughing at?" It's like, I think this guy legitimately forgot that my name was Dave.
No, we didn't. I didn't. I recalled it after, and I was like, God damn it, what did I just do? Maybe he won't even see the chat. Which is funny because that's like literally right after we spent an entire fucking 2 days hanging out, basically. Because we hung out with a lot of people at NorCal,
Yeah.
but you are definitely the people that I spent the most time with, like without a doubt. My buddy Shocks,
Yeah, we had a
and-
fancy dinner.
and the two of you guys,
The dinner was amazing.
and that was like,
That dinner was
Yeah.
awesome.
So top 4 favorite keycap sets.
yeah. Okay, so
If I interrupt you, I'm
SGI
sorry. I just want to talk about a lot of stuff.
No,
I
no,
know
it's
we can
fine.
talk for 6 hours.
We can. So SGI Granite. And then I'm immediately going to dive into GMK sets because I think it's worth noting that GMK sets are really legitimately the best key sets that exist in our community of modern production. They just are. SA is good. And one day I will make an all sculpted SA set. If somebody else doesn't do it before me, I'm not claiming ownership of that. Please, someone else do it so that I don't have to go through the hassle of group buy. But and DSA is cool. There's some cool looking sets in it, but GMK is just the best, right? So GMK Shoko, and then GMK Camping and Modern Dulce in no particular order.
Some solid sets.
And I feel like my video is cutting out a little bit.
I think
Or
we're
you
just-
aren't saying
Discord's
that
having a
video.
fun time.
Yeah, Discord's
Yeah,
just decided
that's really it.
to be. Discord is trying to make Chewy into Monet painting, and you're fine though. You're coming through on my end well, but
Does that
Chewy
make sense?
is a Monet painting currently.
It happens.
But man, so y'all were talking
Sorry.
a little bit of a mess about Olive. I don't know. I guess you gave it props, but man, I built that TGR 910 last night and put Olive on it, and I used that board at work today. I don't have it in front of me because it's actually on the desk that we're going to be using for the show on Friday. But
Okay.
that board, that keycap set looks incredible in my opinion. It's just,
Olive?
yeah, I love Olive.
Is it on your top list?
Dude, it might be. I don't know if it's recency bias,
Really?
but I really enjoy it. But I also really like that like muted colors scheme, right? Like, and I love Olive as a color. Just like I love GMK 9s because I love like taupe colors, which I think the lighter color of 9s is close to a taupe.
Okay.
So
I'm
down
excited
for
to see
those.
it. Honestly,
So what is your feels on GMK Sandstorm then? Because you said you like muted.
Okay,
like-
but that's like over the
No.
top of it.
I don't like
Yeah,
tan.
just flat dark earth.
Yeah,
Just
like
hella flat dark earth.
that's like too much. Like I like a touch of it, right?
Yeah, okay.
So that's why I like Olive, because you can use minimal accents and get like that touch of the olive. It's not overbearing on the board. You still get that nice like light cream color, which I also really enjoy. I think that's an underused aspect for alphas on GMK sets. And then the dark modifier keys are beautiful.
Yeah, honestly,
think
the only reason I didn't get olive is I love green. I don't really like olive green. I think it's too close to army green, and every time I look at like an olive green, I'm like, it just looks like the army.
See, and I'm totally like a little bit of the opposite. For me, it's recency bias because at first I got it and I was like, oh, I love it, and then I put it on and I was like, like it's not my favorite set. It's not bad at all. Don't take that the wrong way. It's not a bad keycap
If
set at all.
Olivia's in
It
chat,
looks great.
Iammeuru is calling you out.
Ooh, dude, don't. I'm not. I like the novelties a lot.
Mhm.
I generally like the colors, but I don't want that color green on my board at all times. It's like for me, it's like a really fashionably valid thing for a moment. You know what I mean? Like a thing you wear for a day because it looks
Yeah.
really cool. And then I'm not there about it, which is the opposite of Olivia, which I hated pictures and renders of. I don't think it looks good in pictures and renders at all, which I know a lot of you don't agree with me, but I cannot stand it in pictures and renders. But then you see it in person,
It just fits so well. It just works so well.
and
so
it's
good.
like
It's
one of the
clean.
best keycap sets I've literally ever seen. It's so good.
Minus the whole minus the whole like best keycap set I've ever seen. I think GMK Striker is that for me. Every time I see it in person, I'm like, God, that's beautiful. And then I see it in pictures, and I'm like, it's terrible. But I also hate Sub Legends, so
I guess I've only ever seen it one time.
It's just that that blue. That blue is just so rich, and I'm like, and when it's on like a polycard board, I'm like, oof, that looks amazing. When it's blue on blue, I'm like, I tried that with the Clippa with Nautilus like a year and a half ago, and I was like, too much blue.
I think Modern Dolce is my favorite keycap set to wear on acrylic or polycard boards.
I think isn't what Serica is like the widely known like.
Everybody loves that.
Boards.
Yeah,
I just don't like yellow that much, so I don't
Yeah,
really
it's not
like
a poor
Serica at all.
not a poor blue at all.
I don't like sub legends, and a lot of people use sub legend stuff, right? And I don't like yellow that much, so I don't really like Serica at all.
Yeah,
it's like that was Zombu Mountain, right?
Yeah, it was.
So.
It's like one of my least favorite of his sets. But he's made so many sets, though. Honestly, that
it's hard to. It's starting to get hard to keep up with. It's like Rensuya. I'm like, I don't know, dude. Rensuya and his girlfriend make like 14 sets. Like, I have
like, how many sets do you have? A lot of really good ones.
All of them
that everyone likes.
Top 4 favorite foods.
Cheese.
Hey, can't go wrong.
Can I choose 4 different kinds of cheeses?
You absolutely can.
Absolutely. I'd actually be upset if you just said cheese because I'm like, there's so many specific cheeses.
They're so different. Like ricotta to like
Gruyere.
Okay.
It's hard not to add cheddar to the list, but I'm not going to. I'm gonna fight
aged white cheddar.
Aged
white cheddar.
Okay, there's a type of cheddar. There's a type of cheddar called redneck cheddar. Try it. It's incredible. It is incredible. Redneck cheddar. It's kind of expensive. So good.
I'm gonna order some to my house. Like
Crasscar asks, why do white people love cheese so much? I take no offense because that's a fact.
Cheese has chemicals in it that bind to opiate receptors. That's why.
Easy. I eat cheese fries like once a week.
So it's hard not to add cheddar, but there's so many different kinds of cheddar, it's hard to not specify and add it. But I'll say cheddar for the sake of argument. Munster, Havarti. Those are just off the top of my head. There's actually plenty of cheeses more than that. But if I were gonna pick if I had to pick 4 different types, then tiramisu would be on there for dessert. But other than that, I can't really.
So I just want to
cheese in it also.
I want to read you the description of what redneck cheddar is. So, after separating the curds and whey in our cheese making vat, we soak the cheese curds in a stout dark beer to create a deeply flavorful cheese with a tart tang. Our tradition dictates that we always use a genuine Texas beer, such as Shiner Bock or some of our favorites from St. Arnold's. The finish on this cheese is a medium sharpness with a mild malty sweetness. It's so good.
Where do you buy this? Is that like Whole Foods?
Veldhuizencheese.com.
All right.
Veldhuizen.
Welcome to a keyboard stream where we talk about keyboards.
I don't know, man. If you just search for redneck cheddar, it was like the I'm feeling lucky link.
Yeah, it is literally the first one. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. Definitely recommend you try it. If you're into cheddars, try it once. It's good. Yeah. Keyboards.
Oh, I'm ordering some. It's literally up there.
Yep.
So four favorite foods. I know the next. Oh, I can't remember the next question. There's one more. I thought it was favorite TV show, but I don't remember there being 4 options.
That's at the end.
Two.
That's a question.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. Yeah.
So, what I wanted, we spoke. Iammeuru, and I spoke last night when we were testing out connections about this concept of. We've seen a lot of keyboard build streamers start popping up, which is great because that's more people, and we're trying to. This hobby is trying to grow. It's trying to become a thing. It's never going to be gaming, but it's trying to be something that, maybe Twitch decides to make a little like keyboard thing. Like that would be kind of cool.
There might be like 5 times as many keyboard streamers as I remember when I started.
Yeah, it's awesome because that's just more people, more content, more things to see. But we wanted to talk a little bit about keyboard streaming because that is its own monster. You sit there and you go, okay, I finally learned how to solder. I finally learned how to lube switches and lube stems and all that stuff. That's all great. So now I want to stream it to people, and you're like, okay, cool. What do I do? And so I just wanted to, we just wanted to bring up some fun stuff about streaming keyboard builds. And I think who better than Mr. Iammeuru to talk about that.
So fun things are that you get to build keyboards all the time.
Hell yeah.
That you don't have to buy because keyboards are expensive. I mean, I have a lot of cool keyboards of my own, but it's really cool to build other people's keyboards. And honestly, I've learned some of the ones that I like the most. Also, there's gear, and it goes from like really simple stuff to really complex stuff, super complex, right? It could be like thousands of dollars worth of camera gear that you're really into because you like photography or whatever. It could be sound stuff that you like. Like for me recently, I just got some better sound equipment that you guys aren't even getting to hear because I'm not at home with all my stuff. But there's that. So it's gearhead stuff from the production side. It's also gearhead stuff from like the hobby side. So it's little things like this, right? Like this.
There it is.
What it is that
Any of you guys have one of these? Do either of you own one of these?
do not. We actually were talking about it in our Discord today. Someone was asking for what is the best like
non
like under $100 TS100 hands down.
No, literally the best under $100 soldering iron. The end.
Mm-hmm.
Not for anything. The best under $150 soldering iron, in fact. Like and I know you guys are both Taco 888.
I haven't used it, so I have no opinion. But I know a lot of people like them. Yes,
we do.
So the grip on your 888 feels better than this.
That's the big thing for me.
So if you're using it all the time, it's going to feel better. But direct heat soldering irons have literally changed my world.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a direct heat soldering iron.
The old one I had, like literally, after a while, like I would be like, my hand is getting hot because there's like I had to put more wrap on it.
It comes down to, if you look at this tip right here, right? the heating element and the thermocouple are built into this tip. And so
That'll do
the
it.
temperature stability of the tip is solid, but aside from that, the reactivity of the tip is super fast. Like it just doesn't change temperature. It immediately comes to temperature. Um, and anything that has a ceramic heating element in it isn't going to do that. And this is amazing. The Pace ADS 200 is the cheapest soldering iron. That's what I solder with at home. Is the cheapest soldering iron that's going to get you that. That's going to be comfortable and easy to use and stuff like that. But this will be the cheapest overall, and it'll be portable, and it's just great.
Well, I mean, you have it with
I
you
recommend this.
in Utah. So that's
Yeah, so
saying something. That's saying something. It's portable.
I brought all the things. I brought all the things to solder together. Just the Navi cluster.
Mm-hmm.
So the One Up keyboard sold the like Navi 10, or I don't know. I have to go look at the kit. I'm forgetting right now. So I brought everything to do a stream. I could not do a stream if I wanted to right now. I don't have the up.
Yeah,
Like doing this Discord is possible, but
one upload.
1 megabit is not enough.
That's hard. That's hard.
Yeah, so I brought all this stuff to do it, and it's just not going to work out. But this is my go-to portable soldering iron now. And honestly, if you solder things every now and then, TS100. Don't get the TS80. I know you're going to be tempted. You're going to be USB-C. Oh my God. Get USB-C. It's 15 fucking watts. That is 65 watts.
Yeah, 65 watts. It's good. And like you said, it's so portable. Like the biggest gripe with the Hako or the Hako,
it's huge.
It's huge. The base is big. I love the stand for it.
Yeah.
The stand is great because there's somewhere to put it. You can get one of those. You could literally just buy this stand secondhand and put your TS100 in it.
Yeah, totally work.
So, but
if you're going to buy a soldering iron in today's world and you don't solder literally every day, just get the TS100 and be done with it.
Yeah.
That's why it stinks whenever. I'm glad that the TS100, because we actually probably need to update that. And they're like, hey, this is stuff you should buy. Because it's hard to be like, hey, yeah, custom keyboards, get into it. Okay, you need to buy a soldering iron. I was like, what's a good one? It's like, well, if you want to get a good one and you never have to want to get another one again, get this Hako. It's $100. And you're like, great. And then, oh, by the way, you want to get good solder too.
And that isn't actually the iron. The 888 is a great iron. I'm not hate on it, right? But the reality is that it's an indirect heat iron. It has a ceramic heating element, and there are $60 irons that do just as good of a job as that and take more standard tips. Like the Hako 900 tips are more common actually than the 888 tips. And the Xtronic 3020, which is what I was using before, uses 900 tips. And they're super plentiful and they're cheap. The reality though is that the realistic performance that you're going to get out of a direct heating iron, a direct heat tip iron is going to be about twice the rated wattage in an indirect heat iron. So your 65 watt Hako F888 or FX888 or whatever D is going to end up to be about where it's just going to be half the performance in terms of temperature stability and overall fast heating ability as an iron that's the same wattage but direct heat. Yeah. So I would recommend like just getting that TS100. It's great. The tips are cheap. It's a great iron. Just do it. The grip is not that comfortable compared to even the 888 or a bunch of other options, but you don't solder once or twice a week for a couple hours, i.e. you're a streamer, then just get that one. That's my recommendation, right? I got that Pace 200. I was really going back and forth between buying that and a JBC. And the reality is that the JBC is an order of magnitude more expensive, literally. Right? So I couldn't justify that. Even making money building keyboards for other people.
The JVCs are like relatively huge too. Like, well, yeah.
They are. The ADS 200 isn't tiny. It's just that they're expensive.
Yeah.
great in every way. They're just expensive. Um, yeah, I recommend that iron. I do.
Mhm.
That's literally my recommendation, and I almost wouldn't, unless you have very specific needs, I wouldn't point you any other direction. But
Mhm.
there's other things about the keyboard building as a hobby that's really cool to me, right? Like, so I'm kind of a gearhead overall, right?
Mhm.
So yes, I like cool keyboards, I like cool things. You guys have anybody who's followed me has seen like my Instagram probably, where I like posted the gantry pictures even without it being populated. It was like, here,
Dude,
just some shit hanging off my ceiling.
it's nuts.
Um, well, and I'm slowly putting more of the things onto the gantry, right? But
Mhm.
the idea is just to make the situation better. And I'm very much about like, hey, I have a system for dealing with this part of my life or this thing, right? And I want that system to be the most efficient and best it can be,
Yep.
almost to a fault,
Yep.
almost to like, well, it cost me more than it probably needed to, more time than it probably needed to, and I spent more effort getting it there than was what I wanted, but I just want it to be perfect. And I
Mhm.
think that appeals to a lot of people in the hobby that we're in. Like, if you just wanted a keyboard that worked and did what you needed to do as a keyboard, you would have bought a $5 capacitive membrane keyboard and you wouldn't have ever looked back.
Mhm.
Uh, Unless you
Good
have some
the good
ergonomic
enough. It's
problems.
well, it's that this is good enough. This is fine.
Yeah.
Exactly. And if you look at like watch Linus Tech Tips, right? They recently did that video about like what's the best key switch, and they came up with God, it hurts me.
Well, they had
Oh,
another
yeah.
one
Alps
that
Brown
literally
or
came out today, and it
oh, I
was
didn't watch that one.
yeah, they did like blind tests of a bunch of different switches and for
Highly
um
recommend that video, by the way.
I haven't watched that one yet, but previously it was MX Browns.
well, this was MX Browns for tactiles, and then linears was C3 tangerines, surprisingly. Um, and they tested it
Okay.
against inks, they tested it against creams. Sherberts did very well for clickies. Box Navy's got
Mhm.
a fat 0, which is,
Really?
Yeah.
you have to remember they're giving
All
it to
right.
people who are used to cherry reds,
Blues.
cherry blues,
And
cherry
that's why
browns.
I think Browns won,
Right.
because
Because they're
most
just
people
it's
actually
used
like
to.
fairly linear switches. So they're like, "Oh my god, the best tactile is basically a linear."
Well, and that's
Mhm.
why the first thing I said is if you
Okay.
give them Zelio V1s, I bet that
I agree
beats
with
the
that.
Brown, because
I
V2 the
actually
bump
agree.
is so big, and same thing with the Holy Panda and even the Halo True. Those are the other
Mhm.
options. The
Yep.
they even said, "Oh, it feels heavier." Well, it's not actually heavier. It's just the bump is so much
The
bigger.
bump is big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that and the like the one thing I wasn't the biggest fan of, and I was like, this is why. It's like, I'm sitting there like, oh, I want creams to do well, but I'm like, I don't know if these are unlubed creams. If they're an unlubed cream, like,
They're probably
that's,
not as good.
and I can't imagine. Um, just let it happen. Just let it happen. I do want to answer a quick question for Mr. Kraskar. How big is the difference between a keyboard you guys build and say like a Black Razor Widow? First
I'm not
thing,
laughing at you. I'm
no, it's
laughing
all
at
good.
the comparison.
I
Uh,
mean, no difference.
you like rattly stabilizers?
Yeah, I was gonna say the first thing you're gonna notice if you're a gamer, which I know Kraskar
Sorry, go ahead.
is if you're sitting there smashing the space bar over and over, that's gonna be the first thing you notice. Is like, oh, it's
That's
a clean space bar.
the part that would drive me the most crazy about the difference. So I don't know what the biggest difference is, because that's almost a loaded question because they're kind of totally separate things. But it's that rattle in the stabilizers
Mm-hmm.
that I just can't, personally at least, handle. Right? Like that
Yeah.
rattle is going to drive me absolutely crazy. The spacebar will be the most noticeable, and your right shift, and then all your other, well, then your left shift, and then your left shift and enter, and then your backspace, right? So
Mm-hmm.
as you go from larger to smaller keycaps, um, but it so it's that, but then also lubricating your switches. Like I
Mm-hmm.
said, I built my Austin with unlubricated Zelio V2s. And the sound profile of those, not just the feel, but the sound profile of them is totally different than once they're lubricated. Like the sound is much more muted. and thocky than it is with a sharper pitch like it is on the unlubed ones. And so if you try and compare that to, did you say Razor?
Yeah, Razor Black Widow.
Okay. Yeah, so if you try and compare that to Cherry MX somethings, right?
Mhm.
Um it's just not like Cherry switches are scratchy and Zelios are really not scratchy. They're pretty
Yeah, I
smooth.
mean, out of
Even
the box,
unlubricated, they're
Zelios
pretty
are
smooth.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty crazy smooth. It's just
I
it's
will,
gonna
I,
be
It's
very different.
it's
I will
one of
still say
those.
Zelios are the best out of box switch.
Yeah. Well, and it's and Ten Strong. This is actually not a bait question like at all. Like Kraskar is a friend of mine, friend of Chewy's that we actually met on my personal stream, like 2 years ago. So and I played in an Overwatch team with him for a long time. Great dude. Is not in this community at all. So this is an actual person who's no idea about
Why we're talking about
why we're
keyboards.
sitting here for an hour and a half talking about keyboards. The biggest thing to me is just the fact that everything that you can do in this with a custom board is actually custom. Like
Yeah.
you when you go buy a board, you're locked into whatever they want you to have. Whereas in this hobby, you get whatever you want. And there's so many options. You can spend days just trying to figure out what you want to do for your first build. And what you want to lube the switches with, what you want to lube the stabilizers with. Like could use tons of different things for your stabilizers. You should probably use 2.5 grade 0, but
Switch mod.net.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear you guys say that, by the way.
What?
So many people are like, no, dielectric grease. I'm like, no, not
Dielectric grease dies out. It's better
Not
to me.
if you wanted to
To
dry
me,
out.
it's better like immediately. The first 2 months,
Sure.
dielectric grease is better, in my opinion.
Until there's any dust.
Until 6 months later, and you're like, why? What is happening? And then you have to like scrape off,
It's
chisel
gone.
off the stuff. It's either gone or it's just like hardened.
well, it's like Super Lube. Super Lube is just like gone after like 6 months. It's just like no longer there. But you could use 205 grade 2, like Panda Suit just said. You could use other things if you wanted it to be a little bit different.
For stabilizers.
For stabilizers.
Not switches. I agree.
But you can make everything custom. You get exactly what you want. You get a color profile, layout. Everything can be exactly the way that you want it. And then as far as lubing your switches, you lube them once and then they're good for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
For years.
Yeah.
Realistically, you're looking at least 2 years, probably at least 3, if we're being honest.
And if you did a
And
good
that
job,
might as well be forever if you're into the hobby.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and then realistically,
by that point, you're like, I'm done with these switches.
and by that point, your switches are hopefully so broken in that you may not get that much of a benefit from like lubing. It wouldn't be as much as day one lube.
Yeah, maybe a sound profile benefit.
Mhm.
Right.
That's something that I've had to. I'm sitting here like because my Holy Jesus switches are sounding slightly different because they're breaking in. The springs were used longer than the final switch product because they're from my original Zelio V1s, 78 grams, and I put them in that.
Mhm.
So they'd already been broken in for like 4 months before I made those, and then that was like my main board for probably 8 months of just and never really switching. And so now they feel amazing, and they broke in so nicely, but they don't sound like they were at this peak sound amazingness, and maybe Zyko's ruined it for me. But now I'm like, it doesn't sound as good. So, but yeah, and then oiling springs and stuff. Kraskar, we'll get you hooked up, man. We'll get you a board. All right, just this up.
I agree, man. Literally hit me up, like, or these guys.
Someone, it was
like,
funny.
Just be like, hey, I want a board. Can you help me?
Someone in our Discord came in and was like, does anybody build keyboards? And I was like, yeah, like everyone.
Yeah, a bunch
it's
of
like
us.
I was like, wow, I'll happily help you build a board. So
Yeah.
Um,
So I actually don't prefer to oil springs. I actually prefer to 205 grade zero springs,
mhm.
Interesting.
regardless of what lube is being used on the stem.
I use the TX oil.
And
That's
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 fine.
that's
It's not
been
a
my
bad oil.
favorite. And well,
It's
you know
just
what's
for
funny? So it's actually funny. So I have this tub, and it's just like I'm just gonna call it the Chewy tub because it's had 3204, it's had 205 grade zero, and it's had TX oil, and I
sure.
just keep adding oil to it. And
What's
so
wrong with that?
I'm like, yeah, just and it's like you just eyeball it. I'm like, whatever, dude, just squeeze it in there, shake it up, boom. And so I'm like, oh, there's a little of everything. I'm like, whatever, it works.
I'm
And
all
it
for it
feels
actually.
amazing.
I'm all for it, and I'll tell you why. Because people try and make lubing a science
Mm-hmm. Dude, lube.
when in reality lubing is an art.
Nope.
It
Yep.
I'm
is.
not saying that you can't be scientific about your art. What I'm saying is that especially as it comes to springs, but even as it applies to stems, it's very much about the feel.
Mm-hmm.
So you're realistically going to add the amount of lube that you think is correct, maybe even minus a little margin. You're going to put them together. You're going to feel one or two or three. You're going to be like, yeah, could use more. You're going to take those apart, put the stems back in the tub or whatever. You're going to add a little more. That's if you're tub lubing. If you're not
Yeah.
tub lubing and you're painting with a brush, honestly, I think you're going to never get the kind of consistency that you're
Yeah.
after anyway, because it's impossible to hundreds of times
Mm-hmm.
apply exactly the same
The
amount of
exact same. Yeah.
anything to anything. Um, Now, I have heard the argument the other direction that consistency is not actually what lubing is about. I've heard Man of Interest say this, and I feel like I processed that and I disagree personally. But I do understand where he's coming from. Like you might want a different amount of lube on your tactile legs as you want on the sliders and so on and
Mm-hmm.
so forth. And while there is benefit to that, and I have felt switches that are lubed that way, I do not see there to be any valid difference that would warrant going through that much more effort
Mm-hmm.
personally. I'm
Yeah.
not
I
going to
think.
say that it's not good. I'm just going to
Yeah.
say that I think I can get them just as good to basically everyone in terms of experience by doing it in a tub.
Mm-hmm.
My 2 cents.
My 3 cents. There you go. 50% increase.
Oh, you agree also?
I agree with that. I think find what works for you.
Yeah.
You're not
Yeah,
lubing
there's that.
switches to impress other people.
That's true.
There are switches that I have felt like Osiris. He did an amazing job on his Sirius. I still don't like it because it's a spring issue. There have been so actually this is a perfect example.
I'm so curious now. I want to know what you're talking
Osiris
about.
brought over his OSA and it's Zelio 78 gram. And what's the combo you used for lube?
So it's PTFE dry lubricant on the stems, and then 3203 in the housing.
Mm-hmm.
On the slider rails?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, okay.
And mine was very straightforward 3204 lubing. I do just the sides on the slider, and then I do the housing, just the slides on the housing.
Okay.
And then the springs. And so it was fun because I usually slightly overlube. I try and whenever it's for me, if it's for a customer, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna make it to where it's exactly what they want. They want this, but slightly smoother and that sound dampening aspect you get. And
Unless someone can explain to me exactly what they want, and I'll ask, but unless they
Mhm.
can explain to me what they want out of a lube job, I'm going to go with a moderate amount of lube. For
Yeah.
me, I also prefer a heavier lube job.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah, and that's why I will try and say this as much as possible. It's there. Technically, there's the only bad lubing job is one that you don't.
Is one that what?
You don't like.
True.
I have tried boards where I'm like, man, this is mushy, and this person's like, I love it.
Cool.
That's for you.
Take your keyboard
That's
back.
Exactly for you. Like I'm never gonna touch that, but that board is not for me. And so, I will.
think
There's a lot, and I saw this a lot, especially when I started looking up lubing, where it's like, this is the way to lube, and I found out very quickly that is not the way. There is not a the way. Now, I will say, don't just dump a bunch of lube in there to where you start screwing up with the mechanics
That's
of the
the wrong
switch.
way.
But
Yeah, if you hydro lock anything, then it's
Yeah.
absolutely wrong.
But there are people, oh, you have to apply this much here and this much. It's like, no, just try it. I buy 10 switches. You can get MX Blacks for like $2.60 for 10 switches, and just try a bunch of different lube methods with a bunch of different lube. It's a cheap experiment.
I think that there's you have to ask yourself what the point of your lube job is before you go into it. So for stabilizers, it's almost unilaterally. I want to reduce rattle.
Yep.
I want to increase this. I want to increase the quality of the sound that comes out of my board by decreasing the amount of plastic on metal rattle that I'm hearing out of my board. I think that's a little more straightforward in terms of what's right or wrong. But when you start talking about switches, it's not really about that. It's actually about making it feel better, and that's very subjective. Part of it's about making it sound better, but even that's subjective when you're talking about switches, because the interaction between the switch and the plate material and the PCB, and then the volume and resonance of the case, is just very specific to that exact combination of parts. So I think that for stabilizers, it's way cut and dry. For most people, I just don't want there to be rattle, and I don't want to impede motion. But when you start talking about switches, it's totally an art. It's totally, both of them are an art, but switches is absolutely just preference. My preference is heavier. I still don't impose that on customers who come to me to want a build.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Unless they are like, build it the way you would build it for you. I'm like, okay, I will. You guys have felt my boards. The boards that I built for me, you guys have felt them. So it's not like you don't know what my preference is. My preference is slightly heavier. I want it, but I also use switches with fairly heavy springs. I like 78 gram Zelios. Right? Like
The big boys.
the right.
Yeah.
gram
So I
springs.
type like I'm fucking smashing fucking rocks with my hands, right? So that's okay. Having a little bit heavier of a lube job. If I were doing 62 grams for myself, which I have done, the lube job is lighter than what I would do on 78s. There's not enough spring force to overcome quite as much. So it's very, very specific in terms of scientific application, but it's also very subjective in terms of what you want to feel. And I think that a lot of people kind of ignore that, and they're just like, this is the right way. Because some dude on the internet posted a video that said this is how it's done, right?
Yeah.
And it realistically isn't. And I am the first to admit that in my own streams. I'm like, this is how I like doing it in my streams. This is the way I think it should be done. Is that right? I mean, it's the way I think it's right for what I like. What do you like? Some people don't like lube, basically. They want like super lightweight oils. Like you want 105. You want Krytox 105.
Yeah.
That's like water. You know what I mean? It's like water. So I don't know what you're actually getting out of that. Like, I guess it's maybe a little bit less scratchy depending on the switch that you're using. But if you're using Zelios, you're not going to be able to tell. It's already really smooth.
Yeah.
Might as well be non-existent.
Like 105 is something that maybe you just put a little bit on like the legs of a tactile if you don't want to lose tactility, but
At all.
but get it just a hair, just a hair,
just a one hairbrush, or not hairbrush, but a paintbrush.
Yeah.
And
I can't
Yeah.
Because I can't. I get so annoyed with lubing, but even like different switches. Like I'm gonna lube like Zycos. I barely lube because I did a normal 3204 job on Zycos, and I was like, God, this is like really hard to type on, and it feels great now, but it was tough to type on for a while. But the original ones I did like very, very minimum. Where with my creams, I'm like, let's see how much 205 grade zero I can throw at this thing before it stops working.
Sure.
It's got 89 gram springs in it, so I can really push the limits of what I can do.
Okay. Yeah. 89. Wow.
Yeah. Well, that's when you're using cherry springs and they're weighted on actuation and not
Yeah,
not
those are the
Yeah, not
novel
bottom
keys.
out.
That's not the other ones are 100 gram, like
Oh,
103
true, yeah.
gram. I bought the novel keys 89 because I tried Colt. He
I have two
had me
Zycos
build with
boards.
that.
I have
Same.
two Zycos boards, and
You and I are
they're-
part of a very specific club.
they're dramatically different from one another in terms of feel.
Mhm.
I have basically the way you said you made yours, which is Rukia.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I got a text message saying that Jax had said hi like a while back,
Mhm.
and hi Jax, because Jax is an awesome dude. If you guys did meet him,
Mm-hmm.
but anybody that hasn't, Jax is freaking cool. Another one of those people that I met in person at a meetup. Man, I love talking to this guy.
He's a fun dude.
Anyway, yeah. So anyway, I got Rukia, right, and it has Zycos very similar to. Mine are lubed with 3204, but it's not super heavy, especially not for something that has 78 gram spring.
Mhm.
It feels really great. The sound profile is really great. And then I built another board, which is Baka 60, but I used 60. They're sprit springs, and I think they're 68 gram aggressives, right? Which means their actuation force is actually a little bit lower, like maybe 5 grams lower than where a non-progressive spring would be
Mhm.
in the same weighting, right? So I used those lighter springs, and I used 3204, and I lubed them a little heavier. And the sound profile is totally different.
Mhm.
Totally different. They sound good, but they're way more muted.
Yeah.
Way more
Yeah.
muted. They're also in an aluminum board, not in a polycarbonate
Polycarbonate.
board, so less resonance, right? So the whole effect on a brass plate, they're both brass plates, but on a brass plate inside of that same kind of aluminum material instead of polycarb. So it's just a totally different sound profile, and so it's way more muted. And I'll bring my Baka 60 when we go to KeyCon, and you'll see the difference between Rukia and Baka 60. It's totally different. And the thing is I still like it a lot. It's just like Holy Pandas that have a little bit more snappy of a sound.
Yeah.
Just a little bit more snappy of a sound. That's really all the difference on that board. Whereas on Rukia, it's like ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. It's like a machine.
Yeah, it's like
in
an
a
old school
beautiful way.
typewriter. Yeah.
Beautiful, but like much, much more present in sound. Right? It's like a great pair of headphones with an amazing soundstage versus like these $30 Bluetooth garbage from Amazon. Whatever, right? This is for travel. Like, whatever. I don't care. I'm going to listen to it on a plane. I just wanted to isolate everything else and give me music.
I just want you to work, and if I lose you or you break, I'm not upset.
I'm not going to be mad, right? I'm not going to be mad. Yeah. So, I mean, that's pretty much like, that's a thing, right? Like, what do you want and in my case, I want it to feel great and I want it to sound great. Normally, that's what I'm going for. That's what I'm trying to maximize. Some people want it to feel really, really tactile instead of smooth and tactile, and that's I can't blame anybody for wanting that. Like, if that's what you're after, then that's what you're after. So normally, when customers come to me, I just go super moderate, middle of the road, like something that's going to please basically everyone to some extent.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you guys do that too.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's most of I'm building a board with Zycos next week. And I'm gonna do them like the OG ones, the just very, very minimal. Because the spring weight is pretty light. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna have to I physically will not be able to change it up that
Lube is
much.
heavy.
But
What are you building it into? What board?
man, I couldn't even tell you the name of it.
Okay.
Like the
Oh, that's
wolf
fair.
thing. I don't remember the name. I have it sitting in there. It's kind of like an E7 layout.
Okay.
I just forgot the name of it. It was a pretty small group by a while back, but yeah, I mean, it's just that's like kind of what we've been saying though is lube how you want to, because this hobby is not about, if you want to copy someone, I'm happy to tell you exactly how I do it, but
Yeah.
I found this way, liking it by trial and error and testing and testing and testing and testing.
I'm happy to show you. Literally,
Yeah.
Exactly, with a microscope.
Well, and it's one of those things. It's one of those things. It's like use those guides and those videos as a starting point, and
Yep.
then develop your own techniques on top of that. Like after that, like that's a good way to get a basis, right? That's a good foundation. But then don't be afraid to try something different. Don't be afraid to try different types of lube, like the dry bike lubricant, right? Like I've been trying to experiment with that just because I'm like, if I can find some way to make this thing push, another lube a little bit further, right? Like, what I did with my OSA, just lubing the housing with 3203, that's cutting out like almost half of your 3203 usage. And you're talking about a bottle, you can get a bottle of this for like $5. Like that's huge.
Yeah.
And double your switch usage.
And at retail, like look, so this is no negative criticism. I'll even caveat it with Krillbit's prices are fantastic
Mhm.
for the volumes of lubricant that you're buying, given there's a container specific for that amount and all of that. Like Krillbit's awesome. So
can we talk about containers?
Go ahead.
Can we talk about
go ahead.
containers though? Like the fact that Krellbit uses an actual like container and not the little like vial thing. Like he uses a container you can actually get into now. Whereas when everyone was using just the vials, it was awful. Like it wasn't awful. That's an exaggeration, but it was
rough. Well, it was rough.
Subpar. The vials are terrible.
And you can, when you're trying, once you get down how you like lubing, where the lube goes on the paintbrush. You like, oh, I want it on this specific spot, and it's a lot harder to get. Like when you're reaching it in there, you might get some on another side or whatever. It might just throw everything off. And it was.
It gets
rough.
on like the ferrule for the fucking paintbrush.
Like, and I know like Apiary like literally puts it on her hand when she's lubing.
Yeah, she puts it on the back of her hand.
And then, because when I had that, I had this little scoop thing that they sent with me. I think Zeal sent it. And I would just scoop some out like onto a little paper plate because this is not working for me. But then you might scoop out too much because it might be impossible to guesstimate exactly how much lube you need.
Part of that, well, because I'm tub lubing, it doesn't matter as much, but part of why I use the little tiny applicators, which apparently people are sending now with lube.
Yeah, I think Zeal. That's what Zeal sends, is those little applicators.
Yeah,
with a little.
Yeah, so
I use that to scoop it onto a plate, so I didn't have to use it anymore.
I use the applicators to put it into a tub, and then I shake the shit out of it, and I even tried. So like Nathan Kim had some videos previously that were like, yeah, I don't know, tub lubing isn't consistent unless you like shake it forever. I even tried. I have a rock tumbler, like a large rock tumbler, and I threw like container with stems into the rock tumbler, and it just for like hours. It's not any more consistent. It's the way it is. If you shake that shit for like 2 or 3 minutes, it's as consistent as I feel like it needs to be.
Yeah,
in my experience. But
and a lot of that stuff will work itself out too. That's the other thing. I know the people are like, it takes me 8 hours to lube because I have to get a baseline and then everything has to match that key. I'm like, no, because if you game for 3 nights a week, your WASD is going to be different immediately.
So And this is the thing I think happens with both stabilizers and switches is after a certain amount of actuations, I don't know what that number is. It's not actually that many, but after a certain number, everything kind of settles to where it's going to go,
Yep.
and the lubricant inside that's going to flow back and forth is the amount that's going to flow back and forth, and it just kind of normalizes.
Yeah. Which I've noticed
And
that's
that.
way more with 205 grade 0 than anything else. Because 205 grade 0 is almost like, for the first like day, it's like almost gritty feeling a little bit in the switches. And then once you really get it to that point where it starts to flow, then you're like, oh, these are smooth now.
Yeah, I agree with you. This actually, yeah, it no, I actually couldn't put it any better than that. You're right. You're absolutely right. It goes from this like slightly stick,
Mhm.
like it has a stiction factor because it's so much more viscous than most of the other lubes that we use, and then it flows to where it's going to go. And I think what's happening is some of the oil is actually settling
Mhm.
to a part of the switch housing where it's not ever going to be touched by the stem anymore. And then the amount that's going to be on the stem and move back and forth is the amount that's there. And the oils are present in that part, and it just and it's smooth. That's my experience with it. I have that same thing where that first day or the first like few dozen actuations are like not the same as literally everything.
Yeah. It just gets better.
It
But
does.
and that's the thing.
Pretty quickly.
That's the thing with like lubing too. Like Chewy said, he over lubes a little bit because he knows the way he likes it is that minus a little bit, so that break-in period, once it gets to that peak break-in point, that's the prime of the switch. Am I wrong?
I can go along with that.
You're not wrong. I mean, I want it to settle at how I would be able to do it normally.
Yeah.
Like if I lube it, I'm like, this is how I like it. It's not going to wind up like. I'll get used to it, but like no, I'm like no. That and the sound, just adding that little extra bit makes it a little thockier.
So I got a question for you guys. It's a total sequitur because I think we need to get off lube. To death.
We could talk for like 6 hours about lubing switches.
We could, and it's probably not the most exciting thing for any of our respective viewers. Which, by the way, reminds me, total shameless plug. You guys should go follow me too. You should follow these guys for one because you're watching stream.
It's easier to follow us right now.
So
But there's the link for Mr. Iammeru's channel.
But not a complete non sequitur. What are you guys' favorite currently running or in the next month current running keycap sets? Because I think there's some like exciting things that are going on right now. Personally.
Botanical.
Ooh.
Botanical is probably. I like Taro a lot. I think Botanical is really good. I really like Ashes.
Me too. Ashes is pretty close to the top of my list.
Other than that, I'm really excited for some stuff that's coming up later this year.
Okay.
Oh, Jenny Bean, what's up? She's an amazing artist. You guys should hit her up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She's cool. She's super cool.
Super nice.
She is.
So, but she or not she, but not a fan of Honey. I think that's the one that I keep looking at and I'm like, I just never got into liking this set. Nothing against it. It's colors.
Me neither. I mean, you guys kind of know my my feelings on those colors specifically.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked about it. So for me, Ashes is close to the top of that. I am like the most mixed feelings ever about modern Dolce Light. I really love Muted, and I really love the colors of modern Dolce Light. I'm not even going to get into whether modern Dolce Light is actually like modern Dolce because there's that whole argument. I think the colors are actually great, so I'm going to start there. The colors are fantastic. I hate the kitting. I can't stand it. I spent more than $320 shipped for Modern Dolch Light in the kitting that I bought. And I know that if it were just kitted as one giant kit, I would have spent less than 180. So that's pretty irritating.
That's a lot of dollars.
What
and
all
cents.
did you buy? Did you buy everything?
I bought everything except the Nord UK
Okay.
and the Command kit.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go to their site and I'm gonna look at the exact price, right? But yeah, man, that's rough. Like I want all of the compatibility. I don't really care about the K, like the German ISO support or whatever. I don't really care that much.
Order number. Hit it up. Dox
Oh,
yourself. I don't even know how someone could use that. I forgot to
No,
say,
no one could.
but while I like botanical, SA Godspeed. That was like a grail set of mine whenever I got in.
SA
Oh my God.
Godspeed?
SA Godspeed.
Okay.
That's pretty.
It's not the GMK. Don't like GMK because I don't think it translates.
Yeah, I don't think
That
it'll
great.
translate as well. For me, I like botanical as well. That's a set that I wasn't really like. I didn't give a lot of looks to it initially back in when it first went into Icy, but as I've been talking more about it and hearing people, the whispers about it, and then obviously it's going live here in a couple days. I really like that set. It's more of my style, that muted colorway style. Ashes, I think looks great. I think it's going to be a really, really good looking set once it's done. I think there's some people who are worried about the way it's going to turn out. I think it's going to look fantastic. That's probably my favorite. And then I do like Future Funk.
Future Funk is cool.
Future Funk is cool, but for me, it's just my thing with Future Funk is in this day and age when I can spend $129 on a keycap set, that extra $15 is like, I don't need to, I don't need to spend 145. I know I can get Taro next month and get a similar colorway. Not the same, not saying that's the same at all. But I can get a similar colorway.
Yes.
I mean, they're both purple. At the end of the day, they both have purple themes.
Right. And I can spend a little bit, presumably what will be probably a little bit less money because on novel keys, I know sets typically run about the 130 range for the base kit. I don't know if pricing.
I think they released Taro was 110.
110, even less.
Yeah.
Is it
Even
really
less.
going to be that low?
If someone correct me, but I'm like 90% sure base kit. Now there are a lot of add-on stuff, but yeah, 110.
Yeah, I'm looking at the base right now. I'm pulling it up very slowly. Like literally the image is low.
Because
it has numpad in the base, which makes me happy. I'm probably gonna get it. That's how that goes.
Of Taro or Future Funk?
Taro. So Future Funk, here's my deal with Future Funk has it, but I am mostly not a fan of multicolored legends.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't like that. This is the set that brings me closest to wanting to buy a keycap set with multicolored legends, and I almost can't put my finger on why. I don't know why. Probably because I like purple. But I think it's just the like weird 90s-ish colors on the accents that make me happy. Like those lighter pastels.
Yeah.
It's like you guys remember Vaporwave?
Yeah.
Like I didn't get on Vaporwave.
Starting to ship right now, I believe.
I know, and I'm tempted to buy one on the aftermarket. Mostly because
I'm sure they bought a lot of extras.
Sure they did. And I'm down, but Taro I'm probably down for.
Yeah.
Future Funk, like I really almost want to buy it, but except for that multicolored thing.
My thing with Future Funk too is I feel like it's a set that I if I bought it, I would have to buy other sets, like other kits to get exactly what I want.
I forgot what set it was.
And I don't like doing that. Not that I don't like buying other sets, but I like having that as a caveat.
That was one. I forgot what set it was that I was like, I ultimately didn't do it because I was like, I want 3 different sets.
Everything.
And because that's my hard time. That's why I have a hard time with novels. So I'm like, I don't need these for this to be a functioning, good looking set. Like when I got Mizu, I didn't get the novelties. I wound up getting the novelties later, and was just fortunate enough to find someone that was selling them at group buy price. But I just was like, I have a hard time buying novelties now, and like, because for me, everything I had, to me, spacebar, accent spacebar is everything to me. So every time I see base kit, I'm like, okay, that plus space bars.
Did you get on camping round 2?
Nope.
Me
I
neither.
already have camping. I thought the novelties for camping round 2 were not as good as the novelties for camping round 1. I don't like sub legends. I've thought about
one
getting
thing.
alphas. I thought about getting the alphas just because I'm like, what? But I'm like, but then I want the shine. I kind of like
Space
the
bars.
shine. Space bars. And I see, I
That's
get
all I
that.
got.
I
That's all I
totally
got.
get that.
I bought
I
a second
totally
round,
understand.
round 1 camping and space bars when that came out. I was like, yes, I want space bars. Okay, thanks, bye.
Yeah. Because the other thing about Taro
like-
too is because the base is 110, you can get base and
So
a
any
additional
add-on
add-on kit. Like say you want to get the extra toppings kit, which is an accent kit that is huge, right? Like comes with accent colors for
and it's beautiful.
yeah, it's a big accent kit. You get that
For extra straws.
you get that for $45. So it's $155. So you're paying $10 more than what you would for Future Funk, and you're getting more keys, more options to put on different boards. Not to mention the fact that you could use those on those accents on other sets, right? Like I have minimal. I could use the green, the teal spacebar on with my minimal, and it would look cool. You know, it would
It
look
would
great.
actually. That would look really good. So like for me, right? I really like Taro. Future Funk is cool. I think you guys kind of hit the nail on the head with Botanic. I love those muted colors.
It took
has
me
all that.
it took me a while to like Botanical. The more I looked at it, and also the novelties are probably top 5 for me. I think the novelties on Botanical are amazing.
Succulents.
But they're just so well done.
Succulents.
They are succulent and they're so well done.
Yeah, they are really good. I love
They
Botanical.
are.
And I love
Yeah.
any set that does the minimalistic numpad. I don't care about arrow keys on my numpad. I want something that doesn't have a bunch of crap on the numpad.
Oh yeah, no, I totally feel you on that. Actually,
Because
why do I need
like,
legends on my numpad?
Taro has that as well.
Has that. Taro, but Olivia has all that extra stuff. And I'm like, I don't like Muted had that. I don't think Modern Dolchlight has it, but that's not going to be going on my Austin. So because the Austin's going to either be Mizu or Terra. And so I'm like, so one of or both, who knows? Might just get a little Avatari on there.
So Apollo doesn't have that, but Apollo also doesn't include the numpad kit in the base, and so it probably won't get my money straight up. That's like I vote with my wallet on that. Like, so GMK Modern Dolch Light is a compromise on $322.05 of compromise.
You really
Straight up.
voted with your wallet. You really stuck it to Dixie.
Dixie said in chat.
I did not vote with my wallet on.
So Dixie said in chat, if it was all one giant base kit, it would have been $35 less, is what he said.
I'm good with that. I like that $35 less. But I understand why it's not. And I'm not hating. Generally speaking, kits that are or things that are kitted out like this won't get my money unless they're super compelling.
Right.
Modern Dolch Light was super compelling, and
It's
a lot of the things that Dixie runs are super compelling.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give him that credit, right? I looked at my history not that long ago of sets that I bought from Dixie and Canon keys and Project keyboards and novel keys, and Dixie has the highest hit rate.
I think between the
month.
two of us, I'm pretty sure Dixie's numero uno. Because other than other than October and February, since he started going every month, I think we've gotten everything except I almost got the only reason I did not get Dracula is because I was like, I'm gonna be able to pick this up second.
Oh, for me, it's multicolored legends. I just don't.
And
They
then
don't speak to me personally.
and then Burgundy was just like, I have so many sets already in Modern Dolce Lights coming.
I got in
so.
on Burgundy.
Yeah. And I didn't get 9009, which I considered, but I was like, I don't really need it.
But you got 8008.
I got 8008. I got dual shot. Chewy got me dual shot for Christmas.
I think that set is going to, people are going to be livid that they don't get that. That
dude,
they didn't get that.
It's gonna be one of the sets that everybody blows up about, and I like PlayStation. It didn't speak to me as much as 8008, which is the best set I think he's released to date. Period. The end. Dixie, if you're listening, that's the coolest set you ever made. Also, the pictures that you posted of you in a sports bra, they're pretty good. I like it.
I'm bummed though.
If anybody hasn't met Dixie in real life,
we haven't.
If anybody hasn't, you guys haven't? What? Oh, you haven't?
Not yet.
So Dixie is a treat to meet in real. Him and his girl, both super cool people.
I'm excited.
They really are. They're really fucking cool.
I'm excited. Soon.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to see all of you guys again.
Yeah, dude. It's going to be a lot of fun. I am bummed, though. I did not get... So I totally spaced out and forgot to buy the novelties for DualShot, so I'm going to have to try to pick those up once it's here. No.
He may or may not even be able to help you. Yeah, I mean... So there's one kit that I really, really like that I have not gotten in on, and I'm probably going to kick myself for not getting in on it. I mean, I guess I have tiny little bit more time left, which is GMK Perestroika.
You should use mexondeck.project.link.
Thank you. I was waiting for that.
Chill mode activate.
I like the mono legends.
Yeah.
Like no subs, just straight Cyrillic mono legends. I think that's really cool. I like monochromatic sets in general. So there's a lot that speaks to me about this set. It also includes numpad, includes a bunch of compatibility that I give actual fucks about. For real though, it's just a cool set. It's just I have already kind of spoken with my wallet this month.
Yeah.
In terms of sets. So I'm not sure I'm going to get in on it. There may be that last minute I do it.
Oh shit!
There's other stuff coming up next month that's really cool too. So I don't know, but yeah, those are kind of the sets this month that I'm like, or this month and next month that I'm like, oh yeah, these are
interesting thing about Perestroika. No accents, not a single accent.
Nope, just red.
Really be monochromatic.
Just straight red.
Wouldn't really be monochromatic if it had accents, would it?
Right. But I mean, sometimes you even expect like the inverse.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, as an inverse, because like nines is that way, where it's like there's like 5 accent keys.
That's true. Nines is a good set.
Nines is a great set.
Nines is, if you don't have nines, get nines. Find a way to get nines.
You can still get it, I think, right? Are there still extras?
I don't know if there's still extras, but they were still in group buy.
They're selling round 2 spots.
Oh, that's what it is. Yeah, you're right. That's what it is. So I shined my nines and
you shined your nines. You cut out some. Sorry.
Oh, I shined my nines in one day.
Damn.
And I don't even normally shine my keycaps very fast. I just played League of Legends for like a whole day. So my QWENR shined one day.
My camping is the worst, and it's definitely like WASD is like borderline reflective.
Trash at this point.
My Hyperfuse Origins, because this was my work board for a long time, is like sticky because of how shiny it is. It's like that level of
It's
shine.
so smooth that everything like is
Clangs
tacky
onto
to it.
it.
Yeah, it like clings on to
Are
it.
you sure it's because it's shiny?
It is because it's shiny. Because I did put them. I put them through an ultrasonic cleaner.
I'm trolling, dude. I'm totally trolling. I totally understand.
God, you need to
But,
watch your
man.
mouth.
But it's funny because I used it at work. The right side of my spacebar is shined, but on my 9s, the left side of my spacebar is shined because that's what I play games on.
I should just give you my normal space bars for 9s because I threw mine on my OSA, so my like 9 space bar has never actually been mounted on anything.
So
Well-
you're like totally a switch hitter when it comes to space bars?
So when I type normally, my spacebar with right hand, but when I game, I have my left hand
You're
on WASD.
right-handed.
Well, I'm left-handed, but I don't play games left-handed. I play games right-handed still.
Okay.
So my space bar is all sorts of janky because it's so gaming. It's at the normal resting left hand spot, but when I type normally, I'm a Neanderthal, and I index finger space bar. And hey, man, whatever I type on my board, it comes out on the screen, and that's how I. So, but I hit it like right under the N at the very top, so it looks it's very strangely. It's very strange how the shine is like specifically somewhere.
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys can hear me very well for a second, but like I'm always a right thumb spacebar guy. And because I'm lefty and I mouse with my left hand, I am always gaming with my left hand on the mouse. So it's literally always my hand on space no matter what.
Mhm.
And it's always like in the same spot. So there's like M and N.
Mm-hmm.
Like just below those is shined, but otherwise everything is just normal. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm trying to think of like there are sets that I have that are like those sets where I would regret if I didn't have them, that I'm happy I have. Camping is one of them. I never got in when it was in the actual group buy, but I got in after obviously a couple times on the secondary market. So I would regret not having that. I would regret not having Shoko. I did get in on that on group buy. Me and like 230 something other people, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how many it actually was, but it wasn't that many. I'm sure if Mike from Novel Keys is in the, or not Mike, sorry, if anybody
Kono,
from
right?
Kono is in the store or is in the chat, they would be like, "Oh, it was this many exactly."
I don't really have a set I regret not having. Well, I mean, I would love to have SA camping, but I wasn't even in the hobby when that ran.
Well, you would regret to not have camping.
Yeah, I mean, I guess yeah. Camping is one that I genuinely don't think I could live without if I had to pick one board. And it's like you have to pick one board, one cap set. I don't know what the board would be, probably the Fiel, and I would get camping. Put it on camping.
Wait, the board would be which board?
Probably the Fiel.
Ooh.
Like
Okay.
my specifically my Zyko Fiel.
He has a love obsession with his Fiel round 4.
It's great.
I
You should
don't
take it-
feel
you
that
should
way
take-
about the Fiel, but I'm
I love the
interested
Fiel.
in changing my opinion.
If you typed on the Zyko one, you'd love it.
Well, he did. That's
I know,
I
but
did.
like for an extended period of time. But the other thing
Sure,
too is
maybe.
it's a
Yeah, you
60%.
might
So
be right.
you already don't like that's an uphill battle already.
I use Baka 60, man. So I mean, I like that board, and it's got Zycos. So there are a couple sets that have come out in the last year that I probably will regret not buying. GMK First Love is one of them, and GMK Moondust. I love the novelties from Moondust.
I think
I love that like spaceman floating away thing.
the one set that I wish came out that I want and I hope it does well is GMK Sparta. I want GMK Sparta so bad. it failed. Sadly, it was in November.
Well,
it's red and gold.
They canceled it.
They canceled
Oh,
it
that one.
before because they're day one numbers, not day one numbers. And they were like, okay, this is not going to do. Like, we're going to push this back to where we know when it really.
Dude, there was one other set that did that same thing.
There's been
that I'm mad about.
Shark bait. Not shark bait. Hammerhead. GMK Hammerhead. Hammerhead went live and then it didn't go, and then they took it down. After like 2 weeks. That was longer. That was like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But the thing about Sparta is it changed vendors last minute, and they were like, this isn't getting the time that it deserves. This isn't getting the spotlight it deserves. And so they pulled it and were like, we'll run it later.
That's a set that it's like, I'm going to be like, well, I have to get every single kit.
Yeah, so
I'm glad because I was like, well, I don't have money for every single kit. I'm going to have to figure this out. I don't even like red that much.
I hate that you guys are breaking up a little bit. I'm sorry.
No worries, man.
Hopefully you can hear me. So I heard most of what you guys said, and I agree that does suck, and that it was a couple weeks in sucks. The other set that I was thinking about that did kind of that same thing, and I think it was after 1 week, although somebody can absolutely correct me, was GMK Rocket.
Oh,
I was like, motherfucker, I want that. Sorry, I want that set.
No, you're good, dude.
I was like, I want that set so bad. And I want it before 4th of July next year is what I was thinking when it came out. I was like, I want that because I'm totally going to put that on board. I'm going to be like, boom, here you go. Themed set. But GMK Sparta was cool. And yeah, it sucks that it's not there too. Dang,
It'll come back. It'll come back though. Like, it was taken down specifically because they knew like this will do well, but not right. Oh, the apiary keyboards with the raid. Thank you.
Thank you, apiary. Appreciate it. How was the build? Hopefully,
I forgot what she was building.
Partner Bros.
Wait, what?
We could finish or we couldn't finish.
Apiary, just don't be a dick to apiary keyboards.
I won't be.
Welcome everyone.
Call
Hey,
back.
if apiary is watching, I'm in Utah right now. Just thought you should know.
Doxed.
Ooh.
It's not a secret that you.
Plateless. That's.
Oh, it was a J80. Yeah, it was a J80. Oof, unlucky.
Right.
Great board.
That it's a fun board. I built one a while. But it had red inks. It was a plate mounted switch. Great, fantastic board. I used it for as long as I could, but those weak springs, I was like, oh, I wish this had something.
Yeah, as cool of a board as that is, that's not one with doing that with a plateless build with non-PCB mount switches. I would never want to do that on stream because I would just get so frustrated. Every little movement of the switch changes the. Yeah.
I wouldn't do. I mean, props that you're doing that, but
yeah, lining those up. That's
so. But for those who don't know, apiary, great friend of the channel. Even though I'm pretty sure half the stuff that I send to her is like either the middle finger or telling or whatever. But yeah, you should definitely check her out. She streams conveniently at the same time we do on Wednesdays. We have 2 monitors. Yep. Mostly the middle finger, absolutely. We had a nice conversation the other day though about middle fingers. So we are having a quick. Are you good, Mr. Iammeuru? You're moving smoothly.
You guys totally broke up there for a minute. I could like barely understand what you were saying.
It's all good. We were just talking about apiary, so nothing important.
Oh yeah. I heard part of it. Apiary is super cool. I only met her one time. Again, hopefully you guys can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
But she was super, super cool. Like, amazingly cool. I thought she was a really nice person. I met her other half very briefly. He seemed really cool too. So I don't know. I hope to see him again. Are they going to KeyCon? KeyCon.
Ooh, I hope
I
so.
think I'm like 99% sure she said she was going.
Hell yeah, we are.
That
She
is-
says.
Because
So-
honestly, there's a ton of people that I'm interested in hanging out with at KeyCon.
By the way, guys, if you're not going to KeyCon, go to KeyCon. Pretty much everyone who
I
puts a
agree.
camera in their face is going to be at KeyCon. And everyone who sells you anything is going to be at KeyCon.
It's gonna be so much fun. There's gonna be so many people there. There's gonna be so many cool boards there. You're gonna have opportunities to get things that you have never been able to get before, never been able to see before. So definitely want to check that out.
So, but I kind of forgot what what we were talking about. I was saying something and I said, by the way, Apiary, Penguin Droppings is asking you, Josh, can I buy you a beer at KeyCon?
Hell
I
yeah!
can't imagine that answer's no. And Heidi
Let's
Bush
totally
is
have a
here.
beer.
Heck yeah, dude. Heidi Bush, give us a spicy topic.
Yeah,
Because
Oh yeah.
Heine needs to be
Oh, give us
included in
something
tons of
hot
beers
sauce.
as well.
I agree with that actually, and I know him and his other half. I'm not gonna say her names because I'm not trying to dox people who aren't in the community. But I know they're both down to drink some beer.
What do you think of the Heine 1 TKL? Mr.
what?
The Heine TKL. Oh, he can't hear me.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I could.
Here's what I think
got
about the
enough of
Heine
it.
TKL. All right. The Heine TKL looks like it was designed by someone who designed a PCB and then just said, fuck it, I'll put a board around it. Totally kidding.
Wow. Okay, so here's what I think about the Heine TKL one. I love the
There it
foot
is.
on the back. So the HBCP has an amazing like curved back section that sounds really, I don't know, if you had described it to me in words, I would have been like, this is a terrible, terrible design feature to include on your keyboard. But then I got the HBCP prototype and it looks fantastic. It just works. It works really well. TKL1 also has this rounded front lip, which is, as far as I can tell, going to be just as cool in terms of the way it feels under your hand. And if it's anything like HBCP in terms of the way it sounds, the way it feels, the way it looks, it's going to be a fantastic keyboard, and I'm super excited for it. Like I want one because I love TKLs. They look amazing. They're one of the best looking keyboard
Mhm.
layouts aesthetically. In
Yeah,
my
just
opinion.
it looks so clean. It's like, yes, I know what that is.
I hope that he keeps the color names of very light gold and pretty cute purple.
That needs to be engraved.
You
on
hope
the
that he
inside
keeps
of every
what?
board.
The
name-
names of the colors.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
very light gold and pretty cute purple.
They sound like the names that Old Navy colors their clothing with. Where it's like mountain red. It's like it's just red. Calm down.
Trying to, I mean, he's come up with pretty cool color names so far all around. Atomic purple. What were the, I don't know what the pink one was called in on HBCP. Maybe it was just pink. I don't know. But atomic purple is probably my favorite. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like I'm really excited for the board. And I know it's just like an interest check right now.
Mhm.
And we'll see how it actually plays out in group buy. And I know that the group buy is not going to be maybe as open as HBCP's was. Though I think HBCP sold like 50 units, right? Was it 50?
That sounds right,
Dang,
but maybe
you guys
not.
are totally laggy.
Oh.
Sorry to hear, man.
I'm
The
sorry. No, I'm sorry.
No,
Stupid.
I mean, what's funny is you look fine to us.
yeah, you're coming through fine to us.
I
yeah, I'm
can't
like
hear.
tempted to literally put my headphones in and
You
listen
can't.
to you guys on my phone.
Now I can't hear Osiris.
It's because I accidentally hit my mute button for Discord.
That'll do it.
Yeah, so Heine says the HBCP pink was the pink Zondat used for X60R. That was the name.
So, so other than the Heine TKL, what boards are you excited about? Like that's coming this year that maybe you've, even some secret ones. You don't have to give away secrets. I don't want you to give away a private buy or something.
Don't
But there's
give away
some
secrets.
there's some good boards coming out. Like what we talked about last year at the beginning of this year was that we're starting to see unfortunately kind of a shortage in keyboards because there's like, oh well, there's 14 cap sets coming out every month, so what are you going to put them on? But I'm starting to see a lot of boards like the Prophet is one that I'm like, oh, that's actually like a really really cool design. And Godspeed 75 I'm really hyped for. A private buy that I don't think I'm at liberty to talk about, that I'm really excited for, although it's nothing really special, but the design on the back looks sick. And so just, a lot of boards. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are.
So like which one specifically are you curious to hear my thoughts on?
Just whatever.
Well, so I don't know what the private one is that you're talking about, but if it's one that I'm in on also.
Yes, the one that we talked about
oh, no.
switching.
Oh yeah. Dude, I'm super excited about that board.
Profit equals profit.
I didn't know it was, I mean, I knew it was a private buy, but I didn't know it was so private that no one knew about it.
I don't know, and I don't want to be.
I've heard somebody say that name before.
I don't want to find out accidentally that I wasn't supposed to talk about it.
I know about it.
Sure, I don't either. I'm actually really excited about that board in particular. The colors are really, because I got like some of the more exotic of the color possibilities. I think you did too.
No, I got white.
Okay.
I got white because I regretted not getting a KBD8X in white, and that green didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. And so I was like, oh, I have the opportunity to sell the KBD8X and pay for this board with that and get it in white. And I was like, done. Let's do this. So
yeah. Let's not spend a bunch of time about talking about something that we can't go into.
I mean, I was talking about, but I'm just talking about the color wise.
Okay,
anyway,
okay.
Thoughts on Eclipse?
Like, I don't.
I need to refresh my memory because this is not something I got in on.
Godspeed. That's my most hype board there right now. The very very public by Godspeed 75.
Yes.
Because of the layout, which I know you hate the layout.
Godspeed 75. So
I just Googled I do this all the time. I just Googled
I'm not all about. Sorry. You guys are disjointed because I can't hear the Discord, so I'm totally listening on my phone.
Oh, no worries.
No worries, dude.
It's
So yeah, Godspeed 75. I'll talk about that, right? Godspeed 75. I love the weight and the weight look, but it's fairly generic 75 in terms of the rest of the layout and design. So I'm really excited for the polycarbonate. And I'm really excited for the weight and the way that it looks. Other than that, I just hope that it does well and that the quality is really high and that people really like it.
I think
because it could be a really big win for the people who are involved in that, and it could launch into a lot of other things that are really good.
Mhm. So, and
Those are my
then
thoughts on it.
that and I'm just, Fropsy. He's a nice dude. He's a fun guy to talk to. Super nice.
He is. He's a good dude.
Yeah, he seems nice. I've only talked to him like this much,
So,
and that was in relation to other private group buys.
all the private buys.
All the private buys.
So, what about you, Osiris? What boards?
What boards am I excited for? Man, I'm pretty stoked for a lot of different things, man. I'm stoked for that EO87. A lot of the boards you talked about the other day. The why is the name Lodestone? I was about to say that board I'm really excited for. I also
Magnets, how do they work?
I am hopefully getting a key colt this year, so I'm very excited for that. And then the Heine TKL. It might be my first TKL. We'll see. I have not snagged an EO87, but I might. I don't know. I'm kind of trying to not spend as much money on keyboards right now and just kind of let things come in, because that's a better feeling than just putting all your money out in the wild and not letting things, not waiting for things. But yeah, kind of saving up right now to hopefully get a key colt here in a couple months.
Should be fun.
So, like I said, which key colt?
Which key colt?
We are both trying to go for a 160 and 165 respectively.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a 165. He's trying to get a 160.
So I think, and then
Those are both pretty exciting. I would have presumed that the 165 is not him.
Yeah,
it is. I'm the 65.
It's one of those things though that I've got this list and it's like, here's my completed builds, here's my planned builds with caps and all that stuff, and I'm sitting here going, man, it's going to be hard to justify getting another board after the next come out.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I'm like, I don't know, because I'm checking a lot of boxes, and with the Austin, I've got full size. With the TKL, that's anyway, the TKL, I'll have that box. I'm getting a Godspeed 75, and then I'm gonna have like 4 60% boards and an OSA for the Alice layout, and after that, I'm like, maybe try and get my hands on a TMO 50. I think that's one that I might actively try and get, or just some sort of 40%, 50% board.
Okay, so here's what I got. What Alps boards do you have?
0. Also, big shout out. I kind of, hopefully I will be I should be seeing a Bauer soon, and I feel like that might make me really, really, really want to try to get one. So that's the other one that I'm maybe trying to get. Who knows? But or Dixie's TKL. I don't know yet.
I feel you. When Iron 165.
So we were talking about it last night about that's going to be
probably a one that I will try and buy aftermarket.
That's going to be a game changer. That board, I think, is going to really shape a lot. Like, we're seeing a lot of people are freaked out about the Satisfaction 75 being traded for a key colt. I'm like, we're going to see that traded, because I think people are going to look at the Iron 165 as a better board than the key colt 165. I think now a number 2 TKL, I think so, maybe not, but when you're looking at both the 165 and the 165, when you're looking at key colt versus the Iron 165, I'm like, I mean, there are a lot of people that might just be like, no, that one's cooler and it's got a better plate. It's not, maybe not better, but a more innovative plate design. So Yeah, and you run into that problem of like, well, is it the Founders Edition or is it that Founders Edition? I think will blow it out. So
I felt quite a number of 165s, not only with you guys, but also in SoCal. Some stuff that one I think is in this state actually with another keyboard community member. And honestly, I think the Iron 165 is one of my favorite 65s ever for sure. But also, it's just a really cool board. It's really innovative. I like the materials that are used. I like the design features. I like the recessed top that goes
mhm,
recesses into the bottom. And Bauer has that part, by the way, also that
Mhm.
recessed, semi-recessed, I guess. It's just I'm a big fan of that board. I really think Iron 165 is going to be one of the best boards of this year.
mhm.
This year being when it releases.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, if you guys have any questions for us or for Mr. Iammeuru, I'm gonna one more time shout him out. Make sure to go give him a follow. He does amazing, amazing builds. He's the only
Thanks, man.
person that's got a microscope camera. So if you really want to look real deep into what a switch looks like, I just imagine. Is it shirt cut? Shirt cut. We are going to KeyCon if that is your question. All three of us. But I just imagine someone
We
sitting there
are.
like on their like 4K TV, and then it's like boom, switch. That's literally bigger than me.
Actually, funny enough, Penguin Droppings was talking in my last stream and was like, my family walked in and was like, "What the hell is this?" And it was like a microscope while I was lubing stabilizers. So it's just like close up of 205 grade zero inside of the stabilizer inserts.
What are you watching? I swear it's just
Like,
keyboards.
yeah, good luck explaining that.
Just keyboards. Just keyboards. So Ten Strong asks, among gasking mount styles, are any significantly different feeling, in your opinion?
Depends on the type of gasket mount, and then it depends on like.
Well, that's what he's asking.
Yes.
Are the
Oh,
different
okay.
types, what feels different? What feels the best? You know, like
I mean, best is hard to say because it's like, well, if it feels good for me, then it might not feel as good for somebody else. Um, to me, I think gasket, a more minimal approach to it would be my answer. So one of the coolest gasket mount boards, sadly, only one exists because he was going to take the staccato. He was going to take it to group buy, but then just decided not to. And other than that, I mean, key colts feel great. I wasn't a fan of the TGR unicorn. I thought that felt squishy, and I don't like squishy. I like I don't really like gasket. Like I'm gonna
I was like,
I'm excited.
you're spending a lot of time on this, answering this question for something that you don't prefer at all.
So it's I'm not like gasket's not something that's like sold or heck no, but I do plan on owning a gasket board. It's just something that I'm not like sitting here going, oh yes, I want as squishy and isolated of a feel as possible. That's my 2 cents.
I I think there's more than one kind of gasket that's worth mentioning, and they all have their advantages and disadvantages. But if you're talking about full isolation, that's a completely separate thing from all gasket mount boards, right?
Mhm.
So I'm trying to look through my build history list, but I built a lot of E6.5s, and I think that type of gasket where you have that wraparound like O-ring thing that goes between the edge of the plate and the PCB is almost worthless in my opinion.
Mhm.
I'm not saying that board is worthless, so don't at all misconstrue that. But I think that that gasket mounting type is pretty worthless, personally. It doesn't do what it's supposed to do, in my opinion. The J01, I own a J01, and it's like the furthest extreme of attempt to gasket isolate everything. And it succeeds fairly well, where you get this like really pure, just the switches on the PCB plate only material kind of resonance out of the board. It does a really good job at isolating, but I don't necessarily think that it's the best experience.
Mm-hmm.
I think that so if you look at Burger Mount, which a lot of people consider to be pretty inferior, and I can kind of understand why. Um, is I think Austin. So Austin is burger mounted, right?
No, Austin's top mount.
Well, it is, but weren't there O-rings?
I mean, there are, but those are optional. So I mean, you can.
It's
Well, they
supported.
are, but I'm pretty sure I did it in
Yeah.
mine. And ignoring that, HBCP is top mount where there's burger, and I did that for sure. And those are two of my favorite boards in terms of the way they sound. So while a lot of people consider that to be pretty inferior in terms of a gasketing system, those are two of my most prized boards.
Mm-hmm.
So I really love J01 and it's amazing. And I like that thing, but I don't love that sound profile necessarily as much as I love like HBCP.
Yeah.
You guys heard my HBCP. Now it's not an apples to apples comparison, it's apples to oranges. There's different case internal volumes and different plate materials and different switches for that matter. Um Tons of differences. But I think that some of my favorite boards are burger mounted, even though I think it's maybe less desirable to a lot of people in terms of gasketing. There is clearly a difference between the gasketed type mounting material or mounting options and the non-gasketed type. Like Sandwich has a completely different sound profile for similar size boards.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like vastly.
I prefer like Chewy said, I don't like, and both you and Chewy said basically the same thing about the like rubber band method, which is used on the Unicorn and the E6.5. Trash. Feels weird. Doesn't really achieve the goal necessarily. I like what is used in the Tengu. Like I spent a decent amount of time with that board. I spent a pretty considerable amount of time with that board for the couple weeks that I've had it. And
Right.
that like the pour on strips method, I do like, because I don't feel like it changes the type feel very much, but it does really affect the sound. Which I think Bauer uses a similar aspect, if I'm remembering correctly, to that with the pour on strips. Dixie, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But I like that.
Also, Iammeuru, thank you for the 6 months.
Oh yeah, appreciate it.
I can finally hear you guys again, but now I can type in the chat.
Oh, there
Sorry.
you go. Someone stopped downloading like 30 gigs of movies next door to you, apparently.
Yeah.
Dixie does use the strips, but they are significantly longer than what you get on like the Tengu. But I think that is really the pour on is the best way in my opinion. Other than unless you're going for that full isolation mount, which is something like the Kepler or the use neoprene. But other than full isolation mount, which is Kepler and J01 are that full isolation, and I guess J02 as well. So
They are. Yeah, they both are. And I've typed on Kepler before, and I think it's a similar concept to J01, in not just in terms of the material and the concept, but actually in the sound profile. I think it's desirable, but I don't think it's necessarily the best experience for me. Dixie's talking about using neoprene, right? I've used neoprene in my own meanderings with Alps boards with an AliExpress case, and I think neoprene makes for great sounds. Jay did a bunch of experimentation. If you talk to him, you go back and you like literally try and pick his brain about isolation mount with Poron and or with different materials and with different compression factors, and that's what he settled on. I still don't think it's the best for me.
Yeah.
I,
And
I still like other things.
I feel like when people say like, well, is isolated board, they're not the best sounding then. It's like, okay, I feel like that may well be the most preferential thing in this hobby, right? Like some people like the way Xylent sound, right? They love that sound. Other people hate it. Like they feel very similar to Zelio V2s, but they're just sound weird. Like, but some people love it. Like, sound is the most preferential thing, I think, in this community, right?
Yeah. I mean, you hear things differently. And I think a lot of what gaskets are doing, it's not to affect sound that much. It's kind of a secondary aspect because you're trying to isolate, you're trying to get the plate, you're trying to get vibrations out, which, yes, obviously I know sounds vibrations, but you're getting you're trying to get a lot of typing feel out of that. You're trying to get with the plate.
I think different people did it for different reasons. I think Jay's was absolutely about sound.
Yeah, I think it's trying to make the plate, like trying to hear the combination of the plate PCB switch combo as best as possible, have that isolated feel or that isolated sound feel. That's why I think the rubber band method is not good, because it affects feel way more than others, especially like on a unicorn.
Unicorn was kind of just a disappointment, in my opinion. Not to say I know like what's his face? I'm going to Stash was like, oh, I'm building my unicorn. If you like it, by all means, it's great. But for me personally, I was like, this feels rough. It feels like I put my board on top of like a piece of foam on my desk and then typed into it, and it was just like foaming into the board.
Yep. Any other questions before we go on for another 30 minutes about gaskets?
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. Why is the Fiel so amazing? Wikiface from
It's
C
simple.
Madrid.
It's simple and easy, and the Fiel round 4 I think is better because it literally has an option of mounting. So I think when you throw that in there, it's like, oh, okay, well, I can change how this feels and get it exactly how I want, but it also just sounds good. It's just whatever black magic like just black magic fuckery of like what is going on, I don't know, but like it just sounds good compared, like I guess maybe the density, maybe it's the brass, whatever. I mean, it's probably a combination of everything, but if you put that like compared to a 5 degree, it's like not going to sound the exact same. But if you could route off one of the stands or even put all the stands on, they're going to sound completely different.
Yeah, it's
you can literally take that plate out and put it in a 5 degree, it'll sound completely different.
It's a great option at a very, very reasonable price. Like it's a very high value board, in my opinion. Like what you get for what you pay is crazy with a Fiel.
Fiel is
and I think that's the number one, right? The value equation in terms of an actual custom, because the Fiel is not like a 5 degree. It isn't made by KBD fans. It isn't mass produced. It is a true custom case. The value equation for a true custom definitely is the best on the Fiel out of like everything ever. Price, it's just the price is really low and the quality is at least as good as that other competition that we we're just talking about. I mean, it's just, so the value is good for what it is.
Yeah.
10 Strong says the removable posts are awesome, right? And removable posts are awesome, and that adds to both feel and sound potentially. Definitely feel, but also sound.
Mhm.
So that's really cool. But also the 5 degree has all these like downsides. It's
Yeah.
really big. It's really big for what it is. It doesn't fit in like cases or things that hold 60% boards a lot of the time. The angles are sharp.
It's
I mean,
chonky.
I have one, right? And it's the board of mine that gets the absolute least amount of use, hands down.
Mhm.
And so I think that even I, who don't really like 60% that much, would rather have a Fiel. And I'm not a giant fan of Fiels personally, but again, not a giant fan of 60%.
Yeah, it's, I mean, preference.
You're
Yeah.
totally right. You're totally right, man. It is preference.
It is preference.
Yeah.
I just
that's my
think
thoughts.
Mecca just killed it. I'm curious to know how the 10 is going to be.
We'll see.
I was upset to not get in on the Clippa S, but money was that was another what I wanted. I could have gotten one that it was in a color I didn't want and materials I didn't want, but I'm like, well, if I get something I want exactly what I want, not like I don't want to have to settle on something else. So, but
I was really lucky when it came to like Austin and stuff like that in getting a really great board as an extra.
mhm.
But generally, I agree with you. Like missing out on one of those and having to settle for an extra that maybe isn't what you want or a B stock of something is kind of, I don't want to say it's the worst. It's not the worst, right? The worst would be not getting that board at all if that's what
Yeah.
you want. Um, but it's like getting something that just isn't good or you have qualms with after it arrives kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But luckily, I've yet to actually really experience that, even in cases where like nobody really knew. It was just blind. I'm trying to jump in on an extra of something, right?
Yeah.
It's not like joining things with my, okay, man, can you like hook me up? You know what I mean with the
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
I'll just throw you a rando. So
Yeah, it's just like, no, man. Well, I'll take whatever's available. Join the raffle. You know what I mean? Okay. So I haven't been too unlucky. I don't think many people have, because a lot of times vendors or people who are running buys won't even run like things that are C stock or like really bad. You know what I mean? Or
Mhm.
B
Yeah.
stock or whatever you want to call them. It's like their B stock. It's basically A stock. It just has some kind of tiny imperfection that you might not even be able to notice that much. Like with my Austin, I
looking
can't
at
tell
you,
anything.
Key Colt. Like
Yeah,
Key
Key
Colt's like,
Cult
yeah,
is
it's
a
a B
great
stock, and
example
it's
of
like
that.
it's got this tiny, tiny little microscopic notch. B stock.
Yeah. Like maybe if I put it under my microscope, we can
Yeah,
see
you could
that
finally
there's
see.
Yeah,
something.
right.
They're very much like that. They're
So,
very much like that.
well, Mr. Iammeuru. Well, sorry, I don't know if you wanted to add
No,
on to
no.
that.
I was just gonna say. I mean, it's about near the end, and we can
Yeah,
get to the
Thank
final
you.
questions.
Thank you very much for joining. Like I said, we do have 2 more questions really quick. You have answered these before, but we will ask you again.
What is your favorite and least favorite thing about the community right now?
I think it mostly is pretty much the same as my last answers. I don't actually remember my last answers, but I'm going to go with it was probably exactly along these lines. Um, my favorite thing about the community is absolutely the engagement. We're at this precipice, and we have been for the last like 6 to 9 months, where a huge influx is happening. Just tons and tons of people are coming into it. And so there's this massive engagement of people that really don't know what's going on in a lot of ways, but still have strong preferences and desires. And they're just like, hey, how do I do this? Or what's this thing about? And that's part of why I want my content to go way more toward like putting some kind of published content. We've talked about this externally, but I want more of that. I need to do more of that. And I want to do more of that. But even in my streams, like people join and they have conversations and they're like, oh, how does this work? people hit me up on Reddit or Discord, and I like that. I like interacting with people, so that part really appeals to me. Um, I also think, that the downside is that there's more, just a giant aptitude for people who are like new to it, but have maybe money to just like buy things at hugely exaggerated prices, which is negative for the community. It really hurts, right? Like if Dixie's making Bauer as an example, right? If he's like, yeah, I'm going to sell Bauer, I've got this many spots, whatever, and he sells it for $500, let's say. Close enough, I think, probably. Close enough to what it probably realistically cost people.
I think that's like exactly median between aluminum and brass. So
yeah, I'm just saying, like, that's as tested, probably it's somewhere around there, right? So let's say $500. But then if that board flips for $2,000, that's bullshit. Like, don't buy that board for $2,000. Or if you are going to buy that board for $2,000, then let's pay Dixie that to do that thing. Satisfaction 75, you brought it up earlier, right? Like, I'm sad that I didn't get in on Satisfaction 75. It's a great board, but it's going for like key cult aftermarket prices too. It's great. I'm happy that it's going for a lot because it's that desirable. But that's outrageous. Like, it's outrageous for key cult boards to be that much. It's outrageous for Satisfaction 75. It's outrageous for everything. I saw a Rukia sell for $1,000 like 2 weeks after it came out.
Yep.
On Mac Market. And I was like, no. And I understand that supply and demand, like that's what we're doing, But I want to see Jax make that money. I don't want to see random person A who bought the board and flipped it make that money. I can't argue with the supply and demand factor. I can't, right? Like, that's just what it is. But I think we need to find a better way, or we need to have a better way of addressing that. I don't have the solution. So maybe I'm one of those people who should just shut the hell up. You know what I mean? Like, until I've got a solution, why contribute to this thing?
Well,
but if you're asking, that's the biggest downside. I don't want to see us wash away our community or sell our community out just because there's some boards there. You can buy them for a shit ton of money.
I love the response that the Key Cult guys gave when we asked them a question about this, right? There's like, well, that's why we opened up commissions, because for what these people are paying, you can get a board in a custom color, completely custom. Like, Dixie just put it in chat as like, I don't know if it's a joke, maybe, probably, could be, could not be, could be serious.
Who knows?
Saying that he'll make a Bauer for you for 2,000 with your name on it. But that's the thing, is like those commissions, it's like you're paying $2,000 and you're getting exactly what you want 100%. You don't have to buy something that, maybe the person got it. Like if it's a Key Cult board, right? That board was probably perfect when they opened it up. It might not be exactly perfect when you get it. It's not going to be the same experience as it is if you buy a commission. Like, just get a commission. You do have to wait for it. It's not as long as a normal buy, but you do have to wait for it. But just do that. Like, let's be smart here. Do that.
Yeah. And I hope that things like that supplant, hey, there's like boards that there was 50 of them made and now they're selling for $2,000. I saw Heine's comment about victory auctions. And it's not a terrible idea. It's just, I feel like Victory hasn't been done maybe correctly to get us to that point, right? Like, if you're doing a Victory auction for 10 boards and you know what I mean, that's where we're at, then that's maybe not best. Maybe we need to tweak those numbers to where it's like, well, we're doing like 40 boards and we're taking the like 10th one or something silly like that. Or I'm taking a random one. You know what I mean? Me, the runner, is picking one and saying that's the number and opening it at that price. I don't know what the right answer is.
It's just hard. What sucks is it's hard to make people happy.
For sure.
Because if you say something like, the designer should get the money, and it's like, okay, well, then the designers will raise their prices. Well, why on earth is the designer raising the price? This is ridiculous. And so it's like, people are the only argument I have to all of this is people get upset. They're like, why aren't they selling me this at group buy price? Like, well, did you get it on group buy? Well, no. It's like, well, there you go. You didn't put the money forward. And they're like, well, that's not fair. And I'm like, because I've seen that argument. It's like, it's stupid that I can't buy this at group buy price. Why is it more expensive later? I'm like, because they got in on it early. That's they got the doorbuster.
They're the ones that made it happen.
They made it happen. They're the reason that they was able to go. And then I hear the argument. Well, I wasn't in the hobby yet. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Let me flip it a little bit, right? I'm not mad that the designer isn't getting the money necessarily. What I'm mad at is that not what I'm mad at. I'm not even mad about it. It's just reality. What I think is the worst part about it is that it's kind of selling out the more hardcore or community-oriented aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing that's upsetting is that you have people buying a bow, like we'll use the same example, buying a Bauer for $500 with the thought process of, I can sell this for $1,000 plus the second I get it.
Yes.
Yeah.
When there's there are other people lining up, trying on that first come first serve page, trying to get it in there as fast as possible, that would really, really love to have that $500 board at $500 and would appreciate and love it.
Yeah, that would be their board.
And maybe that person doesn't have access to it at $1,000. They can't afford that. That's what frustrates me, because personally, I can't afford $1,000 board. It would take me a considerable amount of time. It'd have to be like,
most people cannot just drop $1,000 on a board.
Right. Like, sure. For most boards I buy, I've got to save up a couple months to get them. Right. Sometimes whether it's paying off credit card or saving the money beforehand, but it's like, it's one of those things that's my issue, is that people who would love it don't get the chance to have it. Now that's not taking anything away from the person that's buying at $1,000, $2,000. I'm sure they really,
Osiris speaking the truth.
I'm sure they really love the board that they get, and they appreciate it just as much as the other person that would have bought it at 500 would. But it's just that one little transaction is what's frustrating.
Yeah.
Also, thank you, Gio, for the sub, and thank you, Delphin, for the 500 bits. Appreciate it.
I think one of the best solutions I've seen to that thing, and I'm not going to call individuals out, though some of you are in the chat, I'm sure, and know. One of the best ways, I think, to combat that or deal with that no one's really talked about is actually doing private and or semi-private group buys.
Yep.
Like, look, I'm only going to sell these things to people that I believe aren't going to flip my boards.
Yeah.
And if I ever catch you flipping my board, then you're out forever. Mm-hmm. And don't be under the illusion that I'm not sharing that information with other people who make boards.
Yeah. Because
I will, right?
This hobby is a tight knit. There's circles in this hobby, and they're all tight knit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I want it to be so cliquey that nobody can get a board, right? But what I do want is that community engagement part is the upside, but it's also the thing that prevents us from experiencing the downfall, which is us selling out to basically people who are willing to flip it. Because look, man, if I look at this thing as an investment, if I look at Rukia round 2 when that goes up, or Heine TKL 1, or JO2, or Bauer, or things that were either open or partially open group buys or raffled off where I could have joined, then it's easy for me to be like, oh, well, I have $1,000 extra that I could just drop into a couple of these, and I can make a few $1,000s on the back end. But that's shitty.
Mm-hmm. And that's,
that's shitty.
I told people
I'm not going to do that. I
want
people who do that to be punished by not being able to get in anymore.
I told people on the Baca, I'm like, listen, if you can flip it for 1,000, good Lord, do it. Like, do it and send me lunch money. Like, just buy me lunch, whatever. But one thing I did tell people, and this is, for people who are considering running a group buy, a private group buy, I would suggest this. Tell them, I don't care if you want to sell it through me. Let the group buy runner sell the board. Let them resell the board.
Yeah, sell it back to me.
Sell it back to me, or talk to me, because there could be people that at the time couldn't get it, but now they can. And this happened. Someone was like, hey, I don't, unfortunately a good friend of ours was like, hey, I'm kind of getting out of the channel, getting out of the hobby, and I want to sell it, and I'd rather you it's like, I didn't want you to see it on Mech Market. I want you to, and I was like, oh, well, I think there are people that might be interested that I know that at the time couldn't get in on it. And then that board went to someone that appreciated it and wanted it more. So,
that's fair.
And I do appreciate, like, I think there's not a great way to deal with everything. I also think that the way that like the Bauer was done, where it was like a mixture, and we're seeing this, obviously Key Cult does this as well, where it's like a mixture of all the different methods. And it's like, if you just spread as wide as possible, you do first come, first serve, you do raffle, and then you do victory. Then you get everything, you get a little bit more money. And you...
He did buy a board back with 15 on top and resell.
Sorry, I'm hearing the notifications for the bits that Heine's donating.
Heine's also right. Look at what he had to say when he donated those bits. I'd buy a board back with 15 on top of and resell. And that's a pretty reasonable thing. It's like, hey, you want to sell your board back? Like, here's a markup. I can sell that thing again with pretty big certainty that it's going to command at least 20%, 25% more than it would have.
Yeah.
So let me sell it. And I think those are reasonable ways of approaching it, right? Like, if I'm getting out of the hobby tomorrow, like for some reason I decide, F this stream thing, I don't want to be part of this.
Screw keyboards.
It's not going to happen, right? But like, let's say that's where I'm at tomorrow. Don't worry, guys. Anybody who's watching this, it's not happening. So don't worry.
At least tomorrow,
like,
it's not.
For the sake of argument, but for the sake of argument, like, let's say that's where I'm at, right? I don't know, man. I'm not going to toot my own horn. I have many keyboards, right?
More than the average human.
More than the average person has really shitty capacitive membrane keyboards.
Exactly.
I think he has more customs than the average human will have in their lifetime.
A few,
because that's like zero. But like, whatever. Plenty of keyboards. So let's say I get out of it, right? And I'm like, well, I want to get rid of J01. I guess soon 2 HBCPs. Maybe soon, hopefully, Kepler. You know what I mean? Salamander, Baca 60, TX84, TX84 SE, TX1800 V2. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a shit ton of boards. There's plenty more. Whatever.
Yeah.
Like, let's say I just want to get out tomorrow, right? Well, I can contact those like 4 or 5 people or 6 people that have made those. People that I've talked to in real life, people that I think are worthy of my respect. You know what I mean? I could do exactly what you're talking about. Just be like, hey, man, I'm getting out of the hobby. I think your boards are great. I'm not into this anymore. Or I had a life-changing event and I need to just sell everything and get money.
Yeah.
Now. Or
that's
whatever.
That's the more realistic thing, I think.
Or whatever, right? Like, I had something and I need to get rid of these. What's reasonable to you? Well, let that person just say, hey, I think it's cool. You got to make money, do what you got to do. You know what I mean? I think that's what's going to come out of it more often than not. But give somebody the opportunity to be like, oh, well, I know this person, they hit me up after the group buy and they were like, hey, can I get on one? And I didn't have one to give them. Maybe hit those people up or whatever.
And I think
there are reasonable ways of approaching it.
I don't know if other group buy runners feel this way, but like, I'm at the point now whenever I was sending them all out and getting the baka to everybody, I was like, oh man, I had an opinion on flipping, and now I'm like, man, if someone flips it, I just don't care. Like, it doesn't bother me. I guess it doesn't. I'm like, cool. It could have sold. I could have made X amount more money. I'm like, that just means that somebody values something that I made highly. Like,
There's
it
a
doesn't.
board that I have. I'm not going to call it out by name because I don't want to call a person out and set
Sorry,
a
quick
precedent.
pause. 159 with 10 gifted subs.
Oh, Jesus.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Alexitos is sitting in the chat. Welcome.
The
Mr.
man. The man, the myth, the legend.
Dude,
The
Mr.
man,
159.
the myth, the
159.
beast. 159. Beast. We're gonna hear lots of slap of the bass. At least I am. Y'all won't, but I will.
So, but yeah, that's my final thought on that. Is I'm like, if someone went out and sold a baka for $1,000, I'm like, I want to high five both of you for that entire transaction. I'm like, you think
I
this
want
board's
lunch and a
worth
beer.
$1,000? Thank you, and you made a bunch of money off of something that I did. Thank you, and you owe me lunch.
Buy me a beer and some
Buy
food.
me a beer with your extra money. So. But anyway, yeah, 159. Thank you. Last question. Sorry, we knew it was going to be a long one.
This is the impossible one for me, but go ahead. I know what's coming.
Office or Parks and Rec?
I have no opinion, man. I've watched so little of each of them. So little of each of them that I can't adequately answer that. Everyone I've talked to is like, no, just watch The Office. It's better. Like, start with season 2, watch the whole thing, then go back and watch season 1. And they're like, and then you'll like it. It's better. But I've watched more Parks and Rec, which is to say like a few episodes, and I like it more. But I've also only ever watched the first few episodes of The Office.
Mm-hmm.
So my opinion is maybe not perfect.
No,
I'm willing to admit that.
there you
I
go.
can also be wrong.
Opinions can be wrong.
Opinions
So, well,
could be wrong.
Mr. Iammeuru, thank you for coming and chatting with us. Always a pleasure. Always a fun time talking to you. For those who, there are some of you who've been here the whole time, which mad respect. Because I think this is now outside of a build stream, and this might even be longer than a build stream, our longest interview stream. So
How long have you been
congratulations. We're about to be live time 3 hours. We're right now 3 hours, 8 minutes.
Thank you guys for putting up with my shitty hotel internet for 3 hours. Jeez.
We had a rough time there.
There was a little bit.
For like 10, 15 minutes, but we persevered. But thank you guys very much. Real quick, shout out to our sponsors, Cannon Keys, switchmod.net. I'm about to say Mex on Dixie. Dixie Mech. I said Cannon Keys already. Project Keyboard, Zap, and Type Beast. Be sure to go check all those links out in the description. Friday, 8 p.m. Central Time. Mech Madness coverage begins Friday. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be awesome. We've Dixie, Osiris, and I've been planning this for months now. Very excited.
We'll be debuting our bracket selections. So if you want to win, come watch so you can see the Galaxy Brain selections that we have made.
Man, that's some high praise.
Offline, I want to compare mine, but also I want to point out that there's only 64 participants in this thing right now. And I know a lot of you have opinions, and my opinion cannot count for 2% because I have some pretty questionable opinions. Look, man, I'm into full-size boards. That represents like none of you.
Hey, I like the Austin. So, but well, thank you very much. Is there anybody live right now that we paid?
I can't check.
I don't
literally.
I honestly, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's a little late. Well, we'll call it.
There's
there.
always
Thank you guys.
Critter vision if no one's on.
We can always
sure
like go
live.
find. We can also just like go find someone. Like
They are.
Critter Vision.
So there's over 2,000 brackets.
Yeah. Quantric is on. So Quantric is
Quantric.
on, but that's Path of Exile.
Hey, it's okay. He's a keyboard guy.
Hugo Keys is on.
We both know there are Nazis here in America.
Path of Exile. Yeah, why not? He's fun, dude. Starting the raid now, but thank you guys very, very much. We will see y'all Friday. Oh, I just screwed up the raid.
Yep. You
I always forget. I always forget
to
to
wait.
hit. Well, no, it's not even the wait. It's you either hit X or back,
Yeah.
oh,
and I always hit back, but it's X.
I just type /raid and then username in the
Oh,
chat.
I just use the giant button.
Gosh, man, come on.
Thanks,
Whatever.
guys, for
It lets
watching.
me search. Lets me search.
Appreciate it.
So thank you guys. And yeah, see you Friday. Thank you, Iammeuru, and buy a Switch tester.
Bye now.
Follow MX on deck. It's down below, I'm sure.